to also at this time just let the this committee know that we're thinking of our farmers and we're thinking of the drought and also the people who are struggling with fires, and just wanted to thank our emergency services and all the fireys particularly who have been through difficult times right now, and I think it's going to only get worse until we get some rain. So just wanted to acknowledge the particularly the brigades and our farmers. So with that, on that note, I'll call for leave of absences or apologies. So I know the Mayor is note him as an apology. Any other apologies? No other apologies. So
thanks, through you, Acting Chair. So with the Mayor's apology, Council has received a medical certificate. So the ordinary meeting is the only one that can give the leave of absence. So the request for the leave of absence will come up for endorsement at the ordinary meeting. And for the two standing committees, we'll just continue to note his apology.
Okay, thank you. So now we move on to the recognition of traditional owners. So I will do that. I would like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. So do we have any declarations of interest? So no. So we'll move on to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. So someone like to move that those are accurate? Councillor Erkins, seconded Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So we move on to item 6.1, Infrastructure Planning, Works, Construction and Maintenance Portfolio Report. So I'll hand over to Councillor Jones to deliver that report.
Thank you, Chair. And I'd like to present the portfolio for infrastructure planning works, construction and maintenance, water, wastewater, plant and fleet as read for the month of October. Well, it's now in 1st of December, but everything's there for everyone to see online. If anyone wants to go to our webpage, you can see it all there. There's some good work happening around the current design and planning projects there in Alfred Street, River Road, Kingaroy Street Roundabout, Burt Road, Bowie, Wandai CBD Streetscape, which we'll discuss shortly, Freeman's Lane, Tangura, Chelmsford, Maidenwell, Bunya Mountains, Wandai Industrial Estate, and so on and so on. Flood damage restoration works continue. There's a whole list of work there. So I'd just like to present the portfolio report for the month of October, Chair, as presented, and I'd like to move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Erkins. Discussion or questions? Any comments? No, we'll move on. Oh, Councillor Erkins.
I'd just like to issue a thank you to the roads from my community. I know that Mount Stanley Road and Bull Camp Road, the residents out there are very appreciative of the work that's being done out there. And I also notice in the Nango they're doing some digging up and bitumening in the main area. So thanks very much for that. It's great to see.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Shoemaker.
Just more a question, Councillor Duff, General Manager Meehan, just around the flood damage works. I know it's a large program of work. Just keen to understand, a bit of an update in terms of how you're tracking on that long list, and are you, on schedule, or how things sort of tracking in terms of getting contractors and things for the flood works.
Through you, Madam Chair. Happy to bring back an update we were targeting for the December Standing Committee, which is actually in the last week of November. I will advise Council that we had a large amount of emergent works outstanding to us for $1.9 million. We were paid all bar about $19,000 the other day of that. So the team is going very, very well. There's 2 stages to the program, so I'll bring that program update back to the next Standing Committee if that's okay, and have the team come along and give a rundown for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's really important you just have a thorough understanding of where you're at. So thank you.
Acting Mayor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I did forget, and Councillor Erkins just reminded me, I need to pass on a big congratulations and thank you of the residents of the Wengenville area and Ellesmere, all that sort of stuff. I've got a text message there last night saying it's the best work that they've ever had seen on the roads and in that network out there. So please pass on a congratulations to the men and women that were part of that. And that's great feedback from the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Yes, that's very good. I've had good feedback as well. So congratulations to the roads team. Thank you. So we've had a mover, Councillor Jones, and seconded by Councillor Erkins, that Councillor Jones's infrastructure planning works construction and maintenance portfolio report to Council be received for information. Sorry, Councillor Erkins.
Can I just ask one thing? I know I've raised this a couple of times about being able to go out and maybe do a little trip looking at, some of the works that are happening. I think it's a good idea because I think it gives, myself, just speaking for myself, a better understanding when we talk about how roads are done and what's done. I'm just wondering whether we can get that organised so we can get out and do that trip, whether as a group or individually, would be great.
Through the chair, so what I might do, if council's happy, is we'll send a couple of days where we might visit a site job. So similar to what we did when we did the groundbreaking and those sort of things. I think that's a good coordinated, and people can choose to come if they wish, and it's efficient for that. So happy to organise that, and we'll send out a couple of invites to a couple of projects at the moment. So I think we've still got a couple of step ones in progress at the moment too, JD. So now's probably a good time to see some of that work being completed, and we might even go to one or two that have been completed as well. In that time frame. So I know we've done the work up in Mergen, so and we did a pretty good job in that area. So we'll mark a few of those up.
Probably one of the things, just to sort of make it a bit clearer on what I'm looking for, is more an understanding of what is done on the road. So not a particular project, but more an understanding on, we talk about the different grades that we're doing. So more so that we can get a better understanding of what we're talking about, and also then when it comes forward to us with equipment, if we've been out and seen what actually happens, I think it gives us a better understanding when you guys bring to us and say, well, we need a new whatever. Well, we have a better understanding of what it's used for, what sort of job it does, and how it ends up. That would be rather than, I'm not really looking at going and inspecting jobs that are done, because I'm confident that you do the right thing, but it's more just to give us, or as I said, speaking for myself, just to get a better understanding of what is actually done when I ask for something, when I ask and say, well, someone's complaining about a road, that you guys can give me a better understanding of what needs to be done on those roads across the board, not one particular road, but just, as I said, a better understanding. That would be fabulous. Thanks.
So, General Manager Meehan? Yeah,
through the chair. So we can arrange that. We'll do I think what we might do is do a run through the unsealed maintenance now that we've got the rollers here as well. Now's a good time to do that. So we'll arrange that with Greg. We've also had Malcolm Latcham commence work at council and staff as well, looking after our sealed maintenance program. I might get Mal to run through some of those pothole repairs methodologies as well. I think they're doing a very, very good job there at the moment. So yeah, we might run through a couple of those things as well, and just not listen to me, but get the guys that actually do the work to explain how they do it. So
you're happy with that, Councillor Erkins? Thank you. Okay, so we've had a move and seconder of that Councillor Jones's report to council be received for information. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the Nanango CBD Parking and Operations Community Consultation on page 32. And the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council conduct further engagement with each business, providing a letter requesting them to utilise off-street parking locations and providing a map of alternative parking options. And 2, meet with individual businesses on Drayton Street, in brackets Fitzroy Street, Drayton Street, in early 2024 to determine if there has been a change in the supply of car parking bays by business owners. So do we want to have a discussion before we move that, do you think, or Councillor Erkins?
Yeah, I'd just like to give a little further feedback if I can. I think it was the whole thing was really great. We had some excellent feedback come, I think some of the businesses are a little frustrated that we haven't actually moved forward a little quicker. And a lot of the businesses who have complained were not able to come to the 3 consultations at different times, but they still do have issues. So does that... But anyway, if we can go on with that letter. But one of the things I was speaking this morning to staff is apparently there are a number of people who catch the bus out to Toorong, workers, and they are using the Scott's car park. So it's actually that car park is quite often full, and if we're going to be contacting businesses saying we want your staff to park there, if there are no parking spaces left there, that could be an issue. So if we can maybe have a look at that, and maybe we can contact Toorong or the bus company, because there are different places that they can park their cars that are not actually in the business section, and I think that would be a great help to us with parking. So, but the sooner we can get that letter out to businesses suggesting that they don't park in the main street, and, you know, probably worded in such a way that they do understand if they continue to park in front of their neighbours' shops, that we will have to take stronger action. It's hardly fair to people who are trying to conduct their business and having their next door neighbour park in front of it.
So Councillor Urquhart, just on the just saying that some people felt that they didn't get consulted, was that, or because they couldn't get there, was that the businesses more so than the community?
The businesses.
Yes,
okay. I mean, like, that was a little bit of tongue in cheek, because I do believe we gave them plenty of time to come and plenty of time to voice their opinion. And while I appreciate that they have come to me and asked me to put in their issues, I would have liked to have seen a little more support from some of those businesses who raised the issue with me in the first place.
Yeah. So the resolution that council conduct further engagement with each business, providing a letter requesting them to utilise off-street parking. So that should work, because
Yes.
that's where you're saying that they're the ones that want to have more say. So
Yes,
that's
And
all
if we can also look at that issue with people parking there, getting picked up from there for the day, that would be nice if we could have somewhere else.
like a drop-off
Yeah.
bay.
Yep.
Yep. Councillor,
Sorry.
sorry.
Yeah,
Councillor Potter?
Yeah, look, I was just wondering whether this, what Councillor Urquhart was saying with regards to the people parking there all day, does that need to be in the wording, or is that something we're just going to do as council?
It's not actually the business people that are doing that.
Yeah, I know it's not, but if it's even is the Toorong workers, I mean, do you actually want to write that in the motion?
Can I add
Councillor Urquhart, if you want to add a third dot point.
that we contact either or both Toorong Power Station Coal Mine and maybe the bus company to find out how many people are actually parking there, and whether it's possible for us to liaise to find a better place for them to park.
You just might just slow down. So yes. Let's find out how many workers park there.
And is it possible to liaise to find a better, a more suitable place that does not impact on shoppers parking? You might want to have a look at that and just...
So, CEO Mark, did you want to just check that wording? Are you happy with that, or you always tidy these things up, I think? Or General Manager me and whoever you think needs to... Are you happy with that, General Manager me, the wording?
Chair, I think we would meet the intent of that. We'd have a discussion with the proponents up in that area.
Yep.
And just look at what those arrangements could be if there's an alternative to, so not taking up commercial space, if there's a possibility to move to another location, depending on how big the impact is. Happy to have the chat.
Yep. Can I just add that on on court days especially, it has a huge impact as well. So,
Do you want that in the motion or just?
well, I don't know that we can do that,
No.
but just drawing attention to that fact, and if we can do some research on who was actually parking there and how many people are not part of the business or shoppers.
Okay, so we've just changed the wording there at the bottom to retail parking. So would someone like to move that now? So Councillor Erkins has moved the officer's recommendation, and Councillor Potter has seconded that. Any further discussion? Okay, so would you like to speak as a right of reply, Councillor Erkins?
No, I think we've
Covered it? Okay, so the committee recommend to council, 1, that council conduct further engagement with each business, providing a letter requesting them to utilise off-street parking locations and providing a map of alternate parking options, and 2, meet with individual businesses on Drayton Street, Fitzroy Street, Drayton Street in early 2024 to determine if there has been a change in the supply of car parking bays by business owners. Number 3, that council contact both Toorong Power Station coal mine and the bus company and find out how many workers park there, and is it possible to liaise to find a more suitable place that does not impact on retail parking. So I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. So now we're moving on to Wandai Industrial Estate, Kemp Street. So that's on page 36. So the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommends to council that the report be noted. So I might ask Manager James to talk to this particular report.
Thank you, Chair. Wandai Industrial Estate, this was around following through with an action for our team to go and consider the widening and linking in with the other streets that are in that Wandai Industrial Estate. There's been some rerouting of particular streets through there back to one way, and we were requested to go and invest some time into considering, can we make Kemp Street two-way. Just for the refreshment of councillors, there's a map on page 38 to understand where Kemp Street is in the estate, which is basically a back street that is the spine for that northeastern corner. It is an expensive operation to look to widen that particular street, and also acknowledging that with the widening there's also the relocation of services to support that, including drainage, lighting and telecommunications through there. The value is noted in the report. It isn't, I think you may recall with Burrows Street, collectively it was at 4.5 last time we undertook an assessment on that. Current day unit rates with just Kemp Street alone is at 3.1 now, is what we've been able to assess the value of that at this point in time. So that is there for council's consideration and open to any questions.
So are there any questions to Manager Darcy? No, all good. So we just wanted to note the report. Well, I know I was driving this, so 3.1 million is significant amount of money, but it's not as much as 4.5. But I guess now we've done that. You've done all the investigation, the report, the design. We know exactly where we stand, and if into the future there's an opportunity to get some funding, if there's something comes up, we've got that information, because there was a strong push to have that done, like from the business houses, to see if that was an option. So now we can go back and let them know. So is there some way that we should probably provide that feedback to those concerned businesses and just let them know? So what is there a way forward with this? I'll just ask our General Manager Meehan.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So this project will be added to the PPT with the other list of projects. We're happy to, once council resolves this, we're quite happy to write to the businesses in the street and just let them know the outcome, that it's placed on a future project list, and that it's been valued for those two reasons for future consideration by council. So we can give them an update. Happy to do that under normal process.
I think that needs to happen. So do we need to put that in the motion, or is it just the report be received? Is that sufficient as part of business? Okay, so the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that the report be noted. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Erkin, someone to second. Councillor Henson. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So now we move on to Wandai CBD Streetscape and Roundabout. The officer's recommendation that the committee recommend to council to approve the Bunya Highway Roundabout drawing subject to gaining the necessary approvals from the Department of Transport and Main Roads. Number 2, stage the roundabout and CBD Streetscape eastern and western side of Scott Street to determine a priority of works and reassign the Works for Queensland funding to the highest priority. And 3, consider the respective second and third stages for future funding consideration under the available LRCI Phase 4B or other available funding sources. And I think General Manager Meehan passed some additional information around, so I might hand over to General Manager Meehan to talk this through. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So just for everyone's benefit, so what we've done is we've got an extensive report here with a lot of detail in the back, which James is going to walk through the project in its full in a second to go through some of the changes that we've made since we were here last, and also to go through community consultation program going forward. So a couple of things there, just from my point. So we've moved the project into detailed construction phase at the moment. So we've gone through, we've had our KTP project managers, our works project managers go through and do a formal estimate through the project in detail with the design team. Aaron's done a very, very good job there to bring that up into what we think is the expected cost of this project. Obviously, the options there for council that we'll walk through shortly is to build it in its entirety or to take a staged approach. What I have circulated to the councillors is an alternative funding methodology which allows the project to be funded in full from available funded sources, and also from the existing program to protect that we're not withdrawing from our cash to fund the project. So we would look to use our available existing program to deliver the project in its entirety. We've also provided an alternative wording to that, which we can walk through after this as well, which basically reflects that if council chooses to go down that route. So our intent today would be to walk through the design. I know there was a couple of outcomes of the last meeting, so we've got a couple of different colour surfacings as well. James is going to walk through. Tiana's also got the exposed aggregate picture to walk through as well. Our intent would be that we would talk to businesses through that consultation phase around some of those options as well, and bring a report back to the November General to finalise the project. So I might get James to walk through that, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Potter has her light on. Councillor Potter?
Yeah, thank you. Look, I know this is a very small thing in the light of the grand scheme of things, but I was looking at something the other day, and they had, I'm looking at these brown bins, like all the bins we have around the area, and they actually had the bins with the pictures on of different things around the different areas. So, for Ranking Roy, we could maybe put the Bunyas or something like that, or the view from Mount Warrul, and I think that something like that would, because let's face it, the bins are boring, and I just think that something like that would be really nice on our bins with our logo and everything like that. So I know that's a very small thing in the grand scheme of things, but I think it would actually go to making the place look a lot nicer.
Yep, thank you. I 100% agree. So we can look at that as part of the design. It's probably not overly costly to get something happening on the bins, probably.
Yeah, through Madam Chair, happy to take the feedback. I think I saw those bins the other day. We can get them skinned. So if council want to choose to do more with bespoke furniture, we can bring that back through the project construction before we order the bins to see what options are available if you want to put a skin on them with, a particular picture or logo. I think is it the Scenic Rim ones that I saw the other day? Yeah, okay. We can look at that and bring back pricing options for council as that progresses. So
Thank you. Yep.
I might hand to James to walk through the project, Madam Chair, if that's all right.
Yes, that would be really good. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Chair. As Councillor no doubt very aware, we've been working throughout the Wondai CBD on both the roundabout and the streetscape between the roundabout and Edward Street for a couple of years. There's been a number of elements that have been considered both in the chambers as well as out there with the community, with a number of engagements out in the field. This project was earmarked a number of years ago as part of Council's commitments towards its towns and villages, and looking to increase the aesthetics and improve some of the livability elements of what we have in our region. The project has gone through a few stages of design consideration, particularly this year, so going away from the roundabout and more back towards the CBD streetscape itself. We invested a bit of time and some considerations that we brought forward to the July Standing Committee, where we brought forward some elements that are both landscaping elements but also some level of service ideas around how do we get across the highway that were up for discussion. There's some detail in this report that I'll just like to highlight. The removal of the 2 traffic islands was part of the refuge island down towards Edward Street. So there is in the concept plan in attachment 2, you'll see on page 46, that still has those islands there drafted from where we commenced that work, just to give council an idea on where it could be achieved. In order to try and get a refuge crossing established across the highway there is quite difficult. Our team have looked at this very extensively. It's probably one of the elements that we've really invested a lot of time and done some risk analysis through there. We've looked at the configuration of the roundabout around trying to look at an option up there at the roundabout. We also looked at an option down towards Cozy Dell Lane. But there are a number of issues that are both vehicular related as well as pedestrian related, and as well as the usage of those areas, which is what really created the discussion that we needed to look at areas away from Edward Street. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to come up with a solution that's going to tick the boxes from an engineering point of view to make that work. There's a lot of factors where we just can't seem to get all the overlapping interests to work to get a refuge crossing to occur at the roundabout through the Splitter Island or at Cozy Dell Lane. It's a factor that we've just had to address through our design development and bring it back today. So we've got 6 dot points. Thanks, Tiana. So there's a few dot points there around the visibility and braking distance of vehicles associated.
Sorry, Manager James, I just wanted to ask a question while you're still on the pedestrian crossing. So you see everywhere in different towns, I'm always looking out, where they've got like the raised area and you just go across, and that would slow the traffic down. So why is it so that we couldn't just put a raised area at Cozy Dell Lane just in the middle there, so that it was raised up so the pedestrians could get across, and that maybe the low traffic across there, the pedestrians going across there, is because there isn't anywhere to cross, so they're not. But if there was, there'd probably be a lot more people crossing there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why is that such a difficult thing to achieve?
It's a very good question, Councillor. We've got a number of elements that we need to achieve through design analysis. The speed is one contributing factor, and the ability to brake for vehicles, and the sight lines, what we call the sight triangles from particular areas. We need to have a certain distance based on speed to achieve that. Through our analysis at the roundabout and the speed through the roundabout, we don't have an ability to achieve those minimum distances, unfortunately, and we do have some reservations around being able to have that at Cozy Dell Lane. We know that we can't achieve it up at the roundabout, but we do have some strong reservations around Cozy Dell Lane, because it starts to become on the cusp of being able to have something available, but it then starts to impact on other elements through there, such as the front of business parking, and understanding the strong desire to retain parking in this project, we've elected to go with that process, because if we were going to site the crossing in a particular location, we're looking at that area between Cosydell Lane down to Edward Street. We did put it down at Edward Street originally because that was the way we could minimise any parking losses, if any, and we found out that we could come up with a solution where there was no loss of parking. If we elect to bring it up the street, we start to impact on front of business and the parking numbers start to reduce based on the visibility and braking requirements we need to come up to those areas. So it is a trade-off, I'm sorry to say. It isn't an easy item to just put in without compromising something else that we're looking to put in the same location. So we've brought back a recommended layout based on those facts because we understood where council were back in July. We've tried to bring it up the street, but we just don't think we can, in all honesty. And then at the end of the day, it's also Main Roads' corridor through there as well. So whatever we came up with, we needed to be very comfortable with that we could go and approach Main Roads and come up with a message to try and have them to support the project as well at the same time. In relation to your raised crossing concept, it is one that has been considered, in all honesty, and certainly in the road safety space, it is very good. The only challenge we have with raised crossings is around the fact that there's a lot of trucks that use these areas as well, and we may introduce something that is a good idea and may solve a particular element, but the acoustics that go with raised crossings in a CBD area, we've got oversized vehicles as well that use the Bunya Highway, and also very similar to Haley Street out here in Kingaroy as to why we didn't do raised crossings through there, just because of the high numbers of your B-doubles and semi-trailers and your truck and dogs. Those higher, larger vehicles do create issues when it comes to those raised crossings. They're very good for neighbourhood type areas in residential subdivisions and situations like that, but probably on a highway it needs to be very heavily thought through, and then obviously the engagement with Main Roads that goes with that.
Thank you for the comprehensive answer. Yeah, I guess what you're saying is they're coming around the roundabout. There's probably not enough time if it's a big truck, and you've got now they're coming up to a raised crossing, and there could be challenges about stopping quickly.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I get that.
So I've probably spoken through a couple of the elements around that removal of the crossing. And happy to take any further questions on that particular element that other councillors may have. We were also tasked with going through and looking at alternative footpath colour options. We look to, so we've got the stallion and the daffodil colour up there as per the concept, but I'll draw your attention to some detail on page 51, which is like the last page of the second attachment, and is around the consideration of going back from that darker stallion colour to a blue gum. So just in the bottom right corner there, it's called a blue gum. It's a bluey grey cement colour that we thought, well, it's going to give you that bit of contrast that you may want. It's not as strong as the stallion, and it's obviously nowhere near as light as the daffodil yellow colour, but it's a nice transitional colour, and also gives you that alternative that may work for that area. And the other element of this task was also around the consideration of materials to support that area. So we looked into the exposed aggregate consideration. We've also got some photos that may be available to come on screen shortly, Tiana, if that's possible. But it is an element that can be considered in the project. We've also got an item in the estimate that's on the third attachment as part of option D in the estimate consideration. So you can see in this particular photo there, as well as the aggregate sizing, just for proportion, the different colours that can be achieved. There's obviously surface elements that definitely make the footpath pop to the eye a lot better. but it is something that needs to be heavily considered with making sure that we do get those outcomes. So we've got some maintenance considerations that need to go into that do need to be addressed. The colours of the exposed aggregate, I think, whilst there's a nice variety of fleck through this particular pattern, you can also get some uniform aggregate colours. What I mean by uniform is just one consistent colour that's underpinned by the grey, the lighter grey colour of concrete that sits within it, which may be more in alignment with what the project's probably seeking as an outcome rather than the variety of stone that you may see in this particular picture.
So that I was led to believe that was a lot more expensive than the other options. Is that because that's as far as maintenance goes, that would be easier to keep clean. It doesn't show the dirt anywhere near as much. But I thought the reason why we went back the other way was it was too expensive. Is that correct or?
So sorry, just to clarify, Councillor, that's not honed like we did in Mergen first up. It is slightly more expensive, so we have had a costing. So James will just run through that for council's consideration, but it's not that much more expensive compared to the big difference to hone, which is the first stage that we did in Mergen. That's actually quite exposed, so it's not actually polished down.
Yeah, so in the estimate that we do have, at the bottom there's an option D item on page 53 that brings in that additional cost element. So that is certainly there for, and that's around the cost on top of the baseline cost, because we've run a number of parallel scenarios on what this project could look like, and we've also had to provide parallel estimates to support those variety of outcomes that we're slowly working towards drilling down and coming up with a consensus on what that preferred layout looks like and how it's finished. But then we also have an estimate to support whatever that looks like through today's discussions.
Councillor Shoemaker?
Can I just ask a question about that pavement, since I brought it up? My biggest concern is having to re-spray, repave, treat, keep the colour and keep the footpath looking good and sharp over a period of time. And I can see, yes, this may be a more expensive option in the upfront, but I imagine over a longer period of time, we don't actually have to go back and paint it or reseal it. And I am concerned about that for Mergen, Kingaroy and Blackbutt, the actual increased costs to our bottom line over, well, it might last for a 10-year period, and we might not have to go back. I have been around the streets of Mundumbera where they've done exactly the same thing, and I can assure you their council's struggling to find the money to actually redo the surface. So I really appreciate the additional information coming forward. I understand you did make some comments in the report about, because it's not as smooth of a surface, so potentially there's a risk that it will capture more dirt or contaminants on the footpath. I guess I want to challenge that, because if you look around our footpaths where people are spilling and slopping coffee around, you're probably getting a very similar outcome. I just wanted to, with this option, I just wanted to clearly understand, so I'm not debating either option, just, dumping what's in my head. With the colour, so from the report, if I read this right, it sounds like you want to colour the concrete instead of spray pave the concrete, or you would spray pave? I just want to confirm that.
No, through you, Madam Chair, we're actually leaving up to council. Everyone's got a different preference, and your comments are very right with the exposed ag. We're not opposed to the exposed ag at all. I think if that's the way council want to go, I think you still need to clean it and do all those things and seal it and whatnot. It's probably a visual thing, whether you like exposed ag or you like a colour scheme. The main one there, I think, is if council, our intent would be is that if you want to go to exposed ag, from today, we're happy to take that into consultation in that feedback stage and come back and say this is the thing. But
so, yeah, I just want to confirm it. From what I read in the report, it sounded like you were going to use coloured concrete to get the colours, or
yes,
because I know we struggled with the KTP. You actually tried to use coloured concrete. and to get that stallion colour wasn't achievable. So it has in some areas, it's not as prominent where we've done that. So I just want to understand what you've costed without the $75,000. Is that coloured concrete or is that spray paved concrete?
No, that's full depth coloured concrete. So
That's full depth
Yep.
coloured concrete with no spray paved finish or anything.
no, so normally, if it's coloured, we normally won't spray pave it because it seals out. Sorry, I didn't answer the second part. Apologies.
No, you're good.
My personal preference is I'm not a fan of the full depth colour concrete as opposed to spray pave. Now, all got pros and cons. They all crack. They all mark as well. Where we use CCS, CCS is coloured concrete. So we've got that in some places. It does fade, and you do need to seal. And to be honest, it shows up just as much marks as a spray pave. The spray pave is a different version. Spray pave options you the version to be able to reapply it in so many years' time if it's cracked and resurfaced, a bit like stencil. They've all got costs to them, and they've all got challenges. The big thing too, if you do use a CCS colour, which is full depth concrete, we cannot guarantee that every panel will be the same colour. So that's why you see variances. Where we've used stallion in the KTP, we need to go through and do another seal through them, and they should come back a bit better. But they've all got risks to them. Again, exposed ag or a colour scheme, it just depends. My personal preference in building what we've built. If council wants to use an exposed ag, there'll be pros for that, but you won't have the colour, but you'll have a different surface to other ones. But if you were going to use a coloured option, we would recommend to use the spray pave version. The reason for that is it does allow you to go through and resurface that. You may want to change colours, or you might have an issue with that concrete. We've got cracking in other jobs at the moment, which we will address in 10 years' time if we have to. So hopefully I've answered your question. We would support either option.
Just, sorry, one supplementary question. Just with the aggregate, so it, in terms of its life, like, is that, with the spray pave, it's 10 years potentially if you seal and maintain it as you go. What's the go with the aggregate?
Through you, Madam Chair, so it'll be the life of the concrete. So it could be 25, could be 50, depending on how well you look after it. Yep. I think too that the big thing is, and I think Council might have seen it, we have started our street cleaning regime. We're in Nanango, so we are off and running at the moment, and we had a review on that yesterday. So I'm confident that we would maintain whatever we put down, and we'd be a long way forward to where we are in the last couple of years. So it will do that. So I think, like, to prove the whole of life costing, the exposed aggregate would be just as effective, if not more effective, in my opinion. Okay, so that, so we're not worried about spending, $75,000. It's what you want, I suppose. You'll save that in your maintenance in that time frame. So we would support either option. It just depends what you like.
I think my biggest concern is the maintenance, over the long term. And sometimes making that investment up front is better than dragging it out. So, and I've noticed in a lot of coastal areas, this is very common, particularly like around Noosa, where they've got thousands of people in their CBD, and it never looks as grubby as what, sometimes our footpaths do. So
Yep.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. One of the things I'm just a bit confused. So where did we end up? What's the recommended crossings in Wandai? Where are they going to cross?
The crossing locations, Councillor, I'll just see if I can get
What
a
number?
layout. Probably on the second attachment, page 46, sorry. Up at the roundabout, essentially utilising the other three legs of the roundabout to perform those crossing movements, councillor, is the intent. It's around trying to make use of what we already have in performing those crossings.
So one of the things that is my concern, and I hear what you say about the trucks and the speed and everything, but the bottom line is, how many people do we really think are going to walk down to that bottom to cross the road? They're going to walk across the road, whether we have a crossing there or not, they're going to walk across the road. And the trucks stopping they'll either stop or they'll hit somebody. So aren't we better to have something there that alerts them to the fact, and I still don't see why we can't be lobbying to main roads to drop that speed limit for coming around there to enable that to happen. I mean, it is our community, and they are our community. They're going to be crossing that road at the risk of getting hit. And I do know, prior to my council life, I know how often we lobbied main roads to try and get something in Menango. And I, as Councillor Duff said, you go to other towns and they have it. I just sometimes find that it's very difficult to understand why they make decisions like that. Because as I said, whether you've got a pedestrian crossing there or not, people are not going to walk all the way down the bottom. They're going to cross that road. So surely if we can put something in place that gives them, and so traffic know that there is a pedestrian crossing and people, or there is a crossing or karma or whatever, that people are going to cross there, it surely must be more beneficial to our community and must look after our community a little better in giving them somewhere to go. So on the roundabout, is that where those little spaces are? And that was what community wanted, didn't they? They wanted to be able to cross a bit closer from the town area down to that. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct, councillor. The one on the southern side, so the one to the left of the screen there, it's around utilising probably the rail trail crossing that's up on the crest a little bit further.
Yeah.
But on Haley Street, both the legs of those roundabout, particularly on the one at the top of the screen, is around being able to utilise that goes across to the St Vincent's corner. We understand through the consultation that there was one or two that had particular reservations around the usage of that. We will be looking to see what we can do to improve confidence with that operation. Just to also make a comment in relation to the speed, we are having some positive discussions with main roads around the speed environment through there. We'll be looking to bring something back in a report very, very soon. I don't have it developed for the meeting today, but it is in the process of bringing back a report shortly.
I would be much happier if we were able to get a crossing at that laneway, because I think that is where people are going to cross. If you lose a car park on the other side, you could probably pick it up down the bottom. But as I said, if people will cross there, whether we have it there or not, people are going to cross there. We're an ageing population, Wandai, a lot of elderly people there. It is coming, if you've got to come back up from there, it is a bit of a uphill, which a lot of older people find difficult. So, I would be much happy if we could do a little more into whether it's possible to get across in the middle. I think it's much more beneficial to that community at the risk of trucks having an issue slowing down.
I've just got, did you, Councillor, I've got Councillor Henson's been waiting. Did you want to respond to Councillor Erkin's General Manager Meehan?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, just in relation to that item, we'll get some advice on that before the General. I think is probably our best way. We are concerned it's too close to the intersection. We actually looked at the Nanango model. The difference with Nanango is the trucks are detoured around the town. Also, there's a median there to protect pedestrians if they get caught halfway across. So it is quite a distance for them to travel. The only thing that probably concerns this council is if we encourage people there to cross there and put infrastructure that supports that, and someone gets run over, that might be a concern for us. So happy to take that one away and bring that back for the November, whether that can be achieved or not.
Yeah.
And we can get some further advice.
I understand what you're saying. I understand completely, but they're still going to cross. If someone's run over, they're run over. I think a less chance of them being run over if there is a raised or an indication that they can cross, rather than someone just taking it on their own bat and, walking across and getting hit. So, I mean, it's all about, I suppose, whether you want to be looking after the community and giving them somewhere, or whether you want to cover your butts to whether you're complying with what they want. That is the thing.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Henson.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, just for the Chamber's information, we spent multiple days and nights down there. Councillor Duff, you were there with me. The community did not want that crossing down the bottom of Scott Street, for one. The business houses along from Ryan's Butchery and Baker Shop did not want a crossing there and take away and lose anything, let alone one car park there opposite the lane. And so that was in community consultation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Duff, but they were adamant that they didn't want a crossing there and did not want to lose any car parks. And just a question to Manager Darcy or Manager Meehan, just in relation to the pavement, and if you look on the photos that were given to us with the protruding aggregate, and there's a hairline crack there, my concern would be as to how much of that aggregate would come out in 5 or 10 years' time against a service that you'd be able to maintain. With the exposed aggregate, you probably might be solving a problem with one end but creating another one in 5 years down the track, so that concerns me there. And the other thing, Wondai is a mature population, with all due respect to them, and how much questioning will we have in the likes of exposed aggregate? And it's a minor thing, I can understand, but the roughness of it, because there is probably in our entire region the most amount of mobility scooters in Wondai, and a rough service up and down that footpath there, I'm sure will create some angst in amongst our mature community in Wondai.
So thank you, Councillor Henson. I just I did think that the business community, just on the Cozy Dell, I thought that they actually wanted to have a look at that to see if it was possible, rather than that was in that letter that we look at Cozy Dell Lane crossing as an option. But I 100% agree with you. They do not want to lose car parks. So I don't think that they can have their cake and eat it too. So that's the problem. If you want to, if you get that crossing, you're going to lose car parks. So yeah. But yeah, I think there was a request to actually look at it. Thank you, General Manager Meehan.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. In all honesty, you're right. You can't lose car parks if you don't want a safe crossing. So our first option was our best option. The big thing for us is we'll go away. To be honest with Council, we're not comfortable with the current lineup of putting one mid-block. It's very close to that intersection with B doubles. If we had encouraged an elderly person to cross there, and a B double takes that corner at 40, 50 kilometres an hour, there's concerns for us for that. So we'll go away and get advice on that from a road safety person between now and the general, and we can provide that information to council whether that's going to be achievable or not. I understand the reasons why. People will cross the road, they'll walk across the road, and we want to facilitate that as best we can. So, but ultimately the original solution is the safest solution, and that's our professional advice to the council. Just in relation to the footpath comments from the councillor. Again, pros and cons for different ones. I think the big thing is for us is if we do use an exposed ag, we make sure we get a quality one and get it put down. Again, you get what you pay for sometimes with some of those things. So I think that's something we really need to consider with the stone selection as well. A lot of times you'll see exposed ag where it's quite a fine stone, and they do pop out, is where some of the ones that you see, like in the coastal areas, have got a larger aggregate in it, which one, like that one there, they retain a little bit more because they're not relying on the total surface, but they are bumpy, and you're right, some people don't like them. I think our intent for that one will be to get feedback on what people would like, and then make a decision. That it's like everything, you can throw so many options around different colours and surfaces and those things. It just come down to what is the best choice for that community and those sort of things. So happy to support any option that council wants to take in that finalise of that. So with that. Through you, Madam Chair, James was just going to talk through the roundabout, if that's okay. Sorry, apologies.
Councillor Henson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly, one point I forgot to mention in the previous comments, and Councillor Erkins, in relation to the speed, and I know it was mentioned, I think, Manager Darcy, when we went to the Wondai breakfast meeting there some months ago, he will hold Wondai in good stead for speed reduction there, because during the works, correct me if I'm wrong, but there will be a speed reduction there with no doubt a lot of traffic controllers when works was to proceed with that, which would hold Wandai in good stead for a possible speed reduction, which we will take back to the TAC meeting in the future. So I believe that there's a very good case for a speed reduction there, Councillor Erkins, in the event that this proceeds. That being said, fully supportive of it. We looked there back in 21-22 where we had a predicted cost of 700,000 and look where we're at now. So I am 100% fully supportive of seeing this through and progressing with the roundabout along with Scott Street. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. General Manager Darcy, we'll hand back over to you.
I might just get James to walk through the placemaking options. So that was another thing that came back from the council, just to talk through that, and then we might jump to costs and whether council wants to consider an alternative, Madam Chair. Then that way we can move to what you want to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Aaron. So yeah, there was another item around the placemaking options and the recognition of traditional owners in the design. What we've looked to try and, because of the roundabout works and the proximity of that roundabout to the streetscape, is around the options of the roundabout is something that's fairly unique to Wandai. It's a very strong landmark in Wandai, and particularly the visibility of highway and tourism traffic. And there is a really good opportunity to do something in the middle of that roundabout where, and we did look at a low height retaining wall in the centre of the roundabout, like the internal circle's quite large. We were looking at recessing that back a few metres and then putting in a small vertical face and having some imprints of the image that you see at the top of your page 41 around the connection back to Wandai and the Waka Waka name for Dingo. We've got the timber cutting heritage and the industry of Wandai over decades. The element associated with old Wandai's mate, the trotter that was known in racing circles, and then also the resident emu, Charlotte, that paraded the streets I'm led to believe about a decade ago. So there was a number of factors that helped contribute an identity to Wandai and being able to give a bit of a message and allow people to ask questions around what is that image and why is it there in the roundabout, and encourage people to stop in the future. We still are looking to introduce that element into the roundabout. Due to the complexity of the retaining wall and the ability to form that up, the cost of it was actually getting quite tricky because it is a crescent shape as well as it's a varied height wall as well. It is a very difficult item to create, and that was going to cost an element of money. That we've looked at alternatives and considering some laser cut panel imagery inserted into the inside of the roundabout and still be able to provide that outcome, but not necessarily the complexity and the same degree of cost that goes towards that. So we think that's a fairly strong connection with getting that outcome, and thank you for asking that of us. It really got us thinking around what are we actually trying to create in Wandai, and it's a really good location in our opinion to do something to achieve that. So the consultation, we are looking at doing some further work, both going out to businesses and seeking feedback in the very near future. We're looking to undertake that very soon, hopefully as soon as tomorrow for Wandai. But also off the back of that, we also need to engage with Main Roads. So just want to make council fully aware that we've already progressed discussions with Main Roads, but we'd like to try and fine tune those down a little bit further in conjunction with the speed element as well as raised by Councillor Henshin through the TAC process. Hopefully being able to get consolidation of all those elements at the same time in 24. But in order to achieve that, we also need to talk about the financial considerations that go towards this project. And the allocation of money from a number of years ago from Works for Queensland was an allocation. The project hadn't been scoped up at the time. We didn't have a full appreciation on what the scale is and some of the considerations and the learnings that we've brought from other projects, say like the KTP and Blackbutt jobs. They're great pieces of experience that we've picked up along the way to have these good discussions in these meetings to know what are the outcomes that we want to create for Wandai. So as part of that, we've looked at trying to get a priority batting line-up based on available funds, because the Works for Queensland's $700,000. We had some council carryover money in the vicinity of $800,000 as well. But through the development of the design and then being able to apportion the cost, as can be seen with the estimates on pages 53 and 54, is around, there has been an increase of cost that goes with that over time. I think we're all cognizant and aware of that. The cost of living has certainly not decreased in the last few years. But also needing to bring in those options is to bring the values of those costs at the same time of being able to do the design. So we're effectively doing a number of parallel treatments and doing a fair bit in behind the scenes to bring the material to you in order to then fine tune it as to what is the preferred outcome. You know, do we want the border and trim arrangement? Do we want the alternative panels? And what I mean by that is the two treatments available to us still on pages 46 and 47 is we've got those, like you see on the screen at 46, you know, we do have those darker colours through the middle with some finer trim elements around the perimeter. But then on 47, we go back to more of a stock standard one off, one on arrangement between the blue gum and the daffodil, just to provide options and really wanting to understand where council would like to take this. So we've built those into the estimate as well, as can be seen on 53, where option A is the base of that of cost that goes towards any of the outcomes that we're considering. So there's that base level of value that we just can't avoid at all. But then it's around some of the finishings and the surfacing considerations that go with that is around where we look at option B, you know, with the two different colours of CCS considerations. If we don't want to do that and we want to go to more of the spray pave finish, as discussed, we're looking at the $58,000 as part of option C. And then option D is the aggregate finish, where we're looking at 75, in addition to that base of total estimated cost up at around 1.9 for the streets itself. That is not inclusive of the roundabout. This is around just the streets itself. So just wanting to bring that to council's attention, that is where the values of market assessment are at right now, that the team have done a great job in really diving into that to find out what that has costed across the market. So we do, between the 1.9 million, what I mean by that is that it's around $950,000 each side of the street. It's a fairly balanced cost depending on which side of the street you're on. But then you've also got the cost of the roundabout that's up in the vicinity of $880,000 as well. So the $800,000 that we had for the roundabout, it's, you know, in our opinion, that we still need a 10% increase in value to deliver that particular element of the project. There's obviously scales of efficiency where you look to deliver them all concurrently, all in parallel. We've got a few more abilities to achieve in overlapping costs and potentially get the value down. But it's around understanding that also council has obligations financially, and we need to work with you on how do we achieve that based on what we can afford for the project. So between Works for Queensland and the council carryover of funds, there's also an element under the latest Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Program, Part 4B, that was released by the federal government to the tune of $948,000, where a portion of that could be considered in going towards the project. LRCI 4B it's more the conditions associated with the use of that particular phase of funding is that it's for roads only. It's like local roads investment. The community element of that badge isn't in the criteria for being able to access that funds, which is different to the way previous rounds have occurred. But the beauty of that particular funding model is that You can access it any time after July 23, which is what we're already in, and as long as it can be executed prior to June 2025 that is, then we're going to meet the outcomes of what that program's all about. So there's an option there for council to consider. And in the report, I've also made note around the round 5 of Works for Queensland as well. That was highlighted last month, but the guidelines for that haven't actually been released yet. They come out in April next year. So at this point in time, we're not fully aware of whether it's going to be very similar to previous rounds of Works for Queensland. It could have finer points of detail very similar to LRCI, but what we thought LRCI was previously to what it is now, there might be little subtle differences, but we're not going to know about that until April next year. So that is a risk, in all honesty, to council. So there is an opportunity here to consider some program savings from the works team as well. So we do have a couple of elements in there, and I'll just draw your attention to an item that we've been working on very, very recently as part of the handout for the councillors in the room, as well as the executive. There's an opportunity there for the reseals item out of the 23-24 current budget, where we could look to bring 200,000 from the reseals allocation across to this project, as well as 200 out of the major dig-out program to help supplement the financial difference. This can only be achieved if the LRCI 4B is also able to be brought in to the project, and so that does need to be considered by council fairly strongly in order to deliver all three elements of what this project is about, and that being both sides of the street and the roundabout. So as a whole, we're looking at it up in the vicinity of around 2.7, 2.8 million in order to deliver this project. So that is a fairly strong consideration for council as to where the project needs to go. If we don't elect to fund that, we'll then need to make some priority decisions around what is proposed to be delivered in Wandai, because all three elements of that project have strong reasons as to why they should be included for funding, but we'll need to seek the guidance of council in order to know where to steer that priority. So open to questions from councillors.
So Acting Mayor Jones, I think you had your light on first.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just firstly, before I go forward, so all with the concrete footpath options, all the options are able to be done in the budget that you're proposing. So all options are able to be done without going above the budget or asking for more money. So that the exposed ag and all that sort of stuff is able to be done.
Yeah, that's through the chair. So there would be, through your finalisation of design, if you wanted to go to exposed ag, we would add an additional 75 at that time to do that.
That's able to be done in that proposed budget that you're asking, this budget here.
Yeah, we would have to add an additional 75, JD, if that's right. Which
75 or 36.
No, you'd add up to 75 when you make your final decision. So, if what I would suggest to council in that case is, if council wanted to go out and deliver the project, we would add an additional 75,000 from one of those programs to enable the exposed aggregate to occur.
All right.
Yep, that's doable. The main thing just with that is we didn't want to draw on restricted cash. Those two projects, we're currently carrying surplus in those two projects at the moment, unallocated, so that won't be at the loss of any other projects at this time.
All righty. So, just listening to everything that's been said, and it's been a really good conversation, proposing to put that hump in the road in the middle, with experiences of working with main roads, Blackbutt's a prime example. We wanted to put something like that similar across there, and they just refused to do it because of the trucks. That's going to be on a main highway coming through there, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, Councillor, I really don't, but it's going to be a hell of a task to try and convince them to put something there, and those shop owners will certainly get sick of trucks pulling up, going over the top of all that, rattling and banging and clanging. So there's a lot to discuss around that, don't disagree. I would like to, this project has been in this council for a long time, and I would like to make an amendment to the recommendation And I would like to say the recommendation move that the committee recommend to council, 1, approve the Bunya Highway roundabout drawing subject to gaining the necessary approvals from the Department of Transport and Main Roads. Drop out 2 and 3 and add in as a number 2, accept the funding option presented today to complete the whole project as 1. Now, listening to the manager and general manager, with that, well, actually, I'm just quite happy to move that amendment, and then I can speak to it if it gets seconded.
Okay, so
Madam Chair.
thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. So is everyone clear? So cut out. So there's 1 and 2, and cut out 2 and 3 there. We just.
Can we just confirm the funding option presented today? I think in the motion, I'd like to confirm, are you talking about reallocating the 200K from reseals, the 200,000 from major dig out, applying the full 880 from LRCI 4B, maintaining the works for Queensland and the council funds, as well as the 23-24 council funds? Or can we just get it very clear, because I really want to understand exactly what we're allocating here, because there's quite a lot of buckets of money, and I still have quite a lot of questions about that scope.
So I just Councillor Potter's got a light on just before you answer that. Sorry, Councillor Potter, did you?
Yeah, look, I just want to ask one question. It's great that we're looking at this, but before this, are we doing finishing doing Mackenzie Street?
Yep. Okay, so
Because that is probably one of the biggest things. Otherwise, because that is the only other way around that roundabout area for the townsfolk, and I'm talking the reseal down the bottom of Mackenzie Street, yes, because I just feel that that's actually quite important with this, and it should be sort of done before this project.
Yep. Okay. So sorry, I should have gotten your answer first before I went to Councillor Potter. So we might just go back. Sorry, Councillor Shoemaker, if you could just answer that question, and then we can answer Councillor Potter's question. Thank you.
Well, I'd just to confirm.
Yeah, I get that.
Point of clarity, just to include in the recommendation exactly what budget we're approving here.
Yeah.
Today,
So
because I'm not clear from the conversation we've had.
Yep. Sorry. Yep. General Manager Meehan.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. We had that one prepared for our funding model, so the council. So if council was happy, I've sent that through to Mark, which just details the breakup on that one. The only thing I would say to council I think T's going to load it for us, if she's got it. Just where the funding comes through, because that it details it out exactly where it comes from. The only thing I would say to council is if you wanted to push forward with the exposed aggregate option as a consideration, we would increase the reseal to 275 just to enable that to happen. And that would make it clear that, and if council chose not to when you finalise the design, finalise the project, then we would just reduce it at the second quarter back to that bucket, if that makes sense.
So just on that then, so you said you've got 200K over in reseals that you didn't use, and if you add another 75, is that still?
Yeah, so we're currently carrying 300,000 in reseals at the moment. So we would look to use that money between those two sources, but just for clarity, that's where it would come from in the first instance. Yep. And we would manage that through any quarterly reviews. So I think that's right.
So Councillor Shoemaker, are you clear?
And so just to confirm, perhaps in the motion, can we include that the total budget allocation, because, well, you've said $75,000 for the exposed aggregate, but if I'm reading this right, you actually also have an amount there, regardless of whether we do exposed aggregate at 75, it's 58 for the sprayed coloured concrete, or it's 39 for the concrete option. So you've got 3 options there that aren't actually in the final cost. So I just want to be clear, what's the actual final? You said 2.7 or 2.8 million dollars. So I think it should be acknowledged in the motion what the actual total budget allocation is for this project.
We can word that for you now, Councillor, if you're happy. Yep. So we just said there, if you're happy for funding option presented today with the total project value of
or Manager Darcy, are you ready to report on the costings? Oh, sorry. So would someone move that we, Councillor Henson moves that we resume the meeting and seconded by Acting Mayor Jones. All those in favour? Against? Carried. General Manager Meehan or Manager Darcy, I'll hand over to you to give a costing on that project, the Wandai Streetscape project.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So just on the screen there, I got Tiana just during the break to just offer that that detail there on the screen. So it's a project value of 2.85 million with an existing allocation of 700 from Works for Q and 800,000 from Council. So that should be just there from Council T. And then I've just put there, Council fund the project with an additional 880 from LRCI round 4B, and the existing capital program available from allocations with a reassign of 275 from road reseals and 200k from major dig-out, which is in line with the funding model that was presented today. That includes the exposed aggregate option if Council wants to take it. So that'll allow that to fully go through. The only one we just suggested there too, and it's up to Council, just obviously Councillor Jones's recommendation, we just had that one on the alternative there, was to go and have that final round of consultation with the report back to November with the business community on and finalise the project so we can.
So is Councillor Shoemaker, are you happy that that's costed like out clearly, that you can understand?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Duff. Thanks for confirming that.
So we've so then Acting Mayor Jones, I think you've moved that. Are you happy with the amendments? So someone to second that? Councillor Henson, would you like to speak to your motion, Acting Mayor Jones?
Thanks, Madam Chair. And just before the break, Councillor Potter mentioned Mackenzie Street, and I don't disagree with that, but her concerns were the fact that while this was under construction, traffic wouldn't be able to get across the town, but can just get it confirmed, this will be built under construction and traffic will get through?
Yeah, that's right, Acting Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. And the other concern is with Mackenzie Street. Mackenzie Street was thrown into the fold a lot longer after we started talking about this. Wandai has been waiting for this. We've been promising, or not so much promising, but telling people down there that we were going to do this, and I think it's long overdue, and it's Wandai's time to upgrade, and I know Nanango needs some work done down the main street and in the footpaths and all that, and I would like to think that the next council will certainly address that, so whoever's there at the time, but I've been involved in conversations right from the word go on this one, and I just think it's long overdue. We have an ability to fund it, and I think we need to get moving on this and give our staff the full opportunity to create the project, and rather than stage it, complete the whole job as one, because it will be easier. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, General Manager, it'll be easier while we've got the machinery there to do the whole job, and I'm sure it'll work out cheaper in the long run rather than moving away, coming back, moving away, coming back. So that is basically why I put that forward. After listening to all the conversation from everybody this morning, everybody put good conversation, was really good. So I think it's just time that we need to cut to the chase and fund it, and let's wheels on the ground. Thank you.
So just a question from me. So the Wandai businesses were keen to make sure that there was night work so that they weren't interrupted during the day. Does that include night works?
No, through the chair, this will be day works like the other streetscapes. Night works will be considerable costs to our project, which would, to be honest, we plan on managing it similar to what we've learnt from the other projects. So we'll be bringing in the ramps and those sort of things, similar to what we've done in elsewhere, to try and keep those businesses' doors open, and we'll work with those businesses closely on minimising disruption as much as possible.
Yeah. So as part of that consultation, I think we need to provide that feedback, because they were very, in that meeting we had with Councillor Henson and myself and the Mayor, they were very keen to see that happen. They were worried about their business viability. So yes, if we can convey that in the feedback, that would be great. I think, Councillor Shoemaker had her light on first. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Duff. I just had a couple of budget questions about the scope. You did give us a brief overview. Just page 53, I just wanted to confirm. So this is just for the CBD upgrade, which has doubled in what we'd originally set aside. Has DTMR indicated that they would make any contribution to these works?
Through the chair, no, they haven't at this stage. One thing we have met with DTMR about the project a few weeks ago to talk through some of those details. They're supportive of. There's going to be a slight curb widening through there to reduce the speed of the trucks. One of the things we will be talking to them about is possible asphalt reseal of that roundabout as part of their future works, and we'll be looking to see if we can get that timed. Not saying that that's been committed to, but we are floating that with them. Obviously, it's a bit of fatigue there. It would be nice to have it done at the same time.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, that would be great. I just want to confirm some of these costs. So for the roundabout, there's $240,000 for underground services. What does that actually entail? So I'm on page 53.
That's Wood Street.
Yes.
The Scott Street Wondai CBD upgrade estimate of cost.
Yeah. So
item number 4, underground surfaces, we've got a lump sum of $240,000.
yep. So that page 53 is the actual 2 blocks of the street. So we have made an allowance there to do a full stormwater system through there as well. We will be installing vacant conduits for dark fibre deployment as well. Again, what we've learnt from other projects, we've allowed for the underground infrastructure to be done as part of this project. So if we were successful in deploying internet in the future, those pits will be there available. What we've also learnt is that we are making some alterations to the grade, so it will be a lot more inclusive friendly. So we are flattening the footpaths there are quite steep, so the vertical grade going down won't change because that's how it works. But we will be flattening out the footpaths through that area as well to make it a lot more user friendly for our community that are a bit more challenged in mobility. Part of that will be installing a stormwater system in front of there. The other thing is too, we will have a water main replaced there in the future, so we have allowed for a sleeving conduits to go through underneath those garden beds as well. Yep. So again, we've learnt a little bit. Aaron, as part of his estimate, has allowed for an enveloping pipe to go underneath the garden beds there. So if we do happen to replace the water main in whatever year in front of the curb line, we'll be able to pull that through those garden beds without ripping stuff up again.
That's what I like to hear. And the watering, does that include like an irrigation system for the gardens?
Yeah. So it is an irrigation system through there as well.
Fantastic. So the big question I had, line item number 9, $459,300 for council obligations. What does that entail? Because you've also got $140,000 for site establishment and traffic control.
Yeah, that's correct, Councillor. So it includes a lot of the works done to date on the project, so that would be around our pre-construction costs that are included in the scope of the cost, as well as we've got some elements of project management and project support that are built into that. So I could...
So additional to our operational team or what we've put aside for advanced design and all of those things, this is...
That's correct.
This is an additional line item for...
We actually didn't have that much in there in the advanced design for it. We wanted to put more in there, but we just probably ran out of time, to be honest, at the end of the last financial year. So that some of that cost did trickle into this year, which does impact on this value. Okay,
so some of that's already spent?
Yes.
Yeah, so a large portion of it, or it's just 459,000 is a lot of money. Like our advanced design programs, normally a couple of $100,000.
That's correct. Sorry?
Yes.
No, advanced design certainly not funding this project. Yeah,
No.
we only had a small amount of cost against that.
My point is that it's a large line item when you consider what we put into advanced design across the whole region.
Yes.
For one project, 459,000. Is that you know, the landscape architects and things? Or?
That does include that, yes,
Yes,
councillor.
so, and then is there actually operational work undertaken on the project done as well? there,
No,
or
just
that's
just capital work
capital
attributed to this
preliminaries?
project.
Wow.
Sorry, just to clarify that, councillor, that's the capital project management cost as well. So that will be the construction project managers included in that. They're not budgeted under the operational. They will come directly from a capital project.
capital
That's why you see a larger value there.
Okay.
So once those project managers roll in, they're starting to charge there now. Their costs will be reflected for the duration of that. So they're not operationally budgeted anywhere else in the organisation. They are budgeted to the direct project they'll be building on.
Because then there's another $60,000 for council obligations on the revision on the following page, on page 54.
Yeah, which is the roundabout. So which we believe will be a smaller build.
Yeah.
So there'll be a reduced time for that there. So that's their project management time that they've allocated for that.
And, you know, 140,000 for site establishment and traffic control, and then another 180,000. Like that's.
We reckon our traffic control costs here will be massive.
And is there any way we can offset those by doing that ourselves, or is there, you know, that's over three.
So speed will be our key here in executing that project. So if you look at the roundabout, and one of the things that we've been going through where we see considerable costs is if we're working on that intersection, we have to manage all four legs of that. So we're looking, 5 traffic controllers that we require per day, per shift. So you're looking at substantial cost. The big thing there is, one of the things we've spoken about the guys is we would like to see our costs reduce through our efficiency and delivery, but this is what we believe it would cost at this point in time. So we're always looking to deliver it efficiently, but what we don't want to do is ask for a sum of money and then come back again and say, by the way, we took an extra 3 weeks because we didn't allow enough for traffic control. At the moment, what the guys have put forward is their best estimate on what it will cost. They expect to be there, for anywhere between 8 weeks and 12 weeks, depending on how we phase the construction of that and work through that with those businesses. So it'll be a fairly substantial team rolling in there to minimise the impact on businesses as quickly as possible. But yeah, it does come at a cost to have that, and then we've got community consultation and all those things. That's all brought into that as well. So the obligations is our engineering cost for design, landscape architecture, survey. I believe survey is included in that, but it may not be. And also that will be the construction team's cost coming forward as well.
Okay. Yeah, we've certainly learned a lot over this term of council, the real significance and importance. This is a reminder of actually properly scoping a project and doing that advanced design before we actually allocate funding. This is clear. Yes, we were way off allocating an allocation of $700,000 when you look at, we actually needed a budget of $2.85 million, and to be this far down the track, it's really impossible to actually not deliver on this project now after the years of conversation and consultation that's happened. I'm very excited for the Wandai community and the South Burnett community for this project. I think it really is going to lift what is a really happening and growing town in the South Burnett, and it's great to see engineering firms like Pinion establish themselves in the street, as well as the real estate and the accountant have put significant funding in re-establishing those facilities. So very excited to see the project go ahead. I would just like to see, prior to the general meeting, I would actually like to see some more detail around the costings. But other than that, I'm actually fully supportive of the project as it stands. Just really want to understand $2.85 million is a lot of money, and I don't make the decision to reallocate funding for reseals and major dig out program easily, knowing that we have got such a defect log and a backlog of needs on our road network. So I would just like to see the detail around the scope prior to the general meeting. Otherwise, fully supportive and look forward to seeing this project get started.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Henson?
Through you, just Manager Meehan's probably answered it for me. My question was just in relation to how long predicted works would take to do that, and you did say 8 to 12 weeks, and I guess that's on services available and the weather permitting. So yeah, that's virtually answered my question. Thank you.
And so, sorry, and when we're thinking of starting, if all thing goes to plan after Christmas, or?
Through you, Madam Chair, our anticipation would be there that we would commence during January after the workforce shutdown. If council resolves to proceed with the project, our construction team are working in the background now, so there is a project manager appointed to deliver this project along with his support staff. They'll start moving into construction phase, and I would like to see us walk through with the businesses prior to us commencing and make sure that we have this right before we roll on. So that might be February full start. It'll be up to Aaron to when he's got his full program walk through with the supervisor that will be there on site as well. Just want to make sure we procure all of our resources first. The last thing I want to do is open up anything and then be waiting. So we'll walk through the businesses in January, but we would expect a January, February start as part of our consultation with businesses through this. And the big thing too is making sure that we walk through the traffic management with main roads as well. It's the difference between this road and some of the other ones is there's only one way in, one way out, same as Blackbutt. It does create challenges, so we want to work through that.
So, sorry, but you don't think that you should walk through the businesses before January, because what if there's a last minute, like they don't like a certain thing, it's getting too close to make changes? Do you not think?
I think the third point is that we're going to do public consultation now.
Yep.
I think James is targeted to start tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
to get
good. Yep,
yeah,
awesome.
sorry. Yep, we're happy to just engage.
Yep, awesome. Okay, Councillor Erkins.
I just wonder, is it possible to detour except for local traffic? Or would it be, so coming in on the Bunya Highway, is it possible to make a detour coming across to Mackenzie Street before you actually get into town?
One of the real unique challenges we have with Wandai is that rail corridor and the very few interconnection points that go across it. Unfortunately, yeah, we do only have that eastern end of Mackenzie and Scott Street. There's very few avenues to connect the two sides, well, both sides of the rail corridor. So diverting the highway traffic is actually very, very difficult. If we were to try and take traffic away from the roundabout, we would need to take a lot of the southern catchment of Wandai up to Mackenzie to take them out onto Haley, right at that far eastern end, that Sherburg end of Wandai, and then bring them around the northern side onto Haley, onto Edward Street, and to wrap it back around onto the highway. But
that's just local.
That would be taking the residential traffic,
Yeah.
but I'd imagine we would also be needing to take the highway traffic on that Edward to probably Morton Street North back onto the highway. So there's a lot of traffic that would need to go
So I can see that.
onto that detour.
I mean, a lot of people coming into Wandai.
Yep.
I'm sure you've had complaints from residents down there, from cars that do take the rat run to dodge the car in front of them. I just wonder whether that couldn't be used for the highway traffic to bring it in. Still have local traffic that are going in and wanting to stop, coming in, and then doing the Mackenzie Street for the ones to get out and come around. I just wondered how that would work out, cost-wise,
We did.
compared to the extra work, whether it's any better.
No, it's a very relevant question, Council, because of the location of where it is. We did do some diligence in the background just to look at some of those B-double turning movements and what the impact that looks like on our local streets. We found that there was a particular choke point where we wouldn't be able to have any more than one B-double at that area. So we were going to have an issue there regardless, I'm sorry to say, but we did look into that to see what we could do.
Thank you.
No problems.
So are there any other questions? Comments? Everybody happy? So we'll put that, so I'll just read the committee recommend to council that we approve the Bunya Highway roundabout drawing subject to gaining the necessary approvals from the Department of Transport and Main Roads. Number 2, we accept the funding option presented today with a total project value of $2.85 million, with an existing funding allocation of $700,000 works for Queensland and $800,000. Council fund the project with an additional 880,000 from LRCI round 4B and from existing capital program available allocations. Reassign 275,000 from road reseals and 200k from major dig out program. So that has been moved by Councillor. Oh, sorry. And 3, undertake final round of consultation with businesses for feedback with a final report brought back to the November General Council meeting. So that's been moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Henson. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. So now we move on to water and wastewater portfolio report on page 56.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and again, I'd just like to present it as presented here today, the water and wastewater, and we've got a water main replacement program well and truly underway there across all sections of the South Burnett. We go then to our water. We have Boondoomba Dam getting down to around about 70%. BP Dam very similar, just above 70%. And Gordon Brook's getting down to in somewhere around that 60%. So the water is dropping. Most of the Shire is on level 3 water restrictions, and all the graphs are there for everyone to see online if there's anyone watching. And so Madam Chair, I would just like to move that my water and wastewater portfolio report for the month of October be received. Thank you.
And Councillor Potter seconded that. Councillor Potter?
Yeah, thank you. With regards to the water, I'm just wondering, a while ago we put through council that we're going to do water storage for Kingaroy, and I'd just like to know what stage this is at. Thanks.
Through your chair, so a couple of projects there to reference. We've got the off-stream storage out at Gordon Brook, the design for that. We've just received 30% design for that. That'll be reviewed in the next week, which is really good. And then we've got the Mount Rural Reservoir as well, the upgrade up there. So as council's aware, we have 1.5 in the budget for that, Works for Queensland money, plus an additional 250k from council. So we're actually going to release a tender on the 6th, and we plan to bring that to the next standing committee in December, and then take it to general, the outcome from that tender. So just on that for your information, the original tender was well over budget, as you're aware of. So we're going to go back and we're going to opt for a panel tank with a liner, and we're just trying to work through those details of that tender at the moment. It should be finalised tomorrow and sent out.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any other questions? Okay, Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. Great to hear that Mount Rural Reservoir progressing. That's exciting. I just have a couple of questions. Been spending a fair bit of time with irrigators across the region talking water, following on from the Bundaberg-Burnett Regional Water Assessment. And I have had a couple of questions raised with me that I'm keen to sort of lean in and understand more about. One is from the blackbutt, what is now the only blackbutt avocado grower who has brought all properties in the region. He has indicated his intention to list the property for sale unless he can secure water, and he has indicated that he is very close to being completely out of water. I've read in your report, it says that the blackbutt irrigation has used much larger portion of water than normal trends indicate for this time of year, and clearly that's to be expected when there's been no rainfall for the year. My question is, at what point can council actually, and you can take this on notice, purchase additional allocation that we on-sell to them for that industry there in blackbutt? Because I think we have to look at this very carefully, because I see this issue no different to the likes of keeping the doors of Swickers open here in Kingaroy in terms of trying to secure their water supply and other industry in the area. And I do hold grave concerns about the future of blackbutt when the final Bundaberg Burnout Regional Water Assessment, the draft copy, has sort of tied the project up with that long-term conversation about Tron Power Station. My concern is they won't actually be there in 5 years' time. So happy for you to take that on notice, but some kind of intervention, I'm concerned that those growers are going to go through some extremely difficult times unless we can do something about it.
So, General Manager Meehan?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, you're quite right. The allocation for that group is getting right up at the moment, and obviously Adam and his team have been dealing with the property owner to understand, the volumes are starting to expire for that. We have got, excuse me, following on our previous conversations around allocations that we might be able to secure, we have got one of our officers doing some work on some models for that. Happy to bring that into the conversation, and we'll engage with that person to see what allocation they may need, and part of that discussion we'll add that to our model to talk to those people who may have an allocation that we can secure even temporarily, and add that to our mix. Happy to.
Thank you. And my second question is in relation to, it came up, the original Nanango water storage, the weir in Nanango. Does it have an official name? Macaulay. Thank you, Macaulay Weir. Growers have asked me, people in the area have asked me, is there an opportunity to transfer some of that water to irrigation or agriculture? And has any work ever been done in that regard?
I'll take that one on notice, Councillor, if you're okay. We are aware of inquiries in that space from people wanting to take water as of yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So we'll come back to you on that one if that's okay, what that process is and how that control actually works, so we can give you a proper answer.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So thank you. So there are two questions on notice. Yep, got them. Okay. So did anyone else have their light on? Anyone else have any questions? So we're all good. So it's been moved by Councillor Jones and seconded by Councillor Potter that Councillor Jones's water and wastewater portfolio report to Council be received for information. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So now we're moving on to Natural Resource Management Compliance and Environmental Health Operational Update. And the officer's recommendation that the Natural Resource Management Compliance and Environmental Health Operational Update be received for information. So do we have anyone wants to talk to that particular report, or we just have...
Trying to cut me off, Madam Chair.
Sorry, I skipped down to 9.2. Oh, sorry. sorry. The officer's recommendation is that Councillor Henson's Natural Resource Management be received. So, okay, sorry.
Thank you, Madam
Councillor
Chair.
Henson?
Through you, that's perfectly all right. I understand. Yeah, I'll bring my Natural Resource Management Rural Services Portfolio Compliance Environmental Report to you today. But Regional Biosecurity Syndicate's Emergency Animal Disease Response Plan project has commenced. A response plan is to be created either as a generalised or generic plan then for each council across the state to adapt and tailor to their specific ecology, environment and conditions. A property fire management planning workshop is being held on Saturday the 28th of October. Currently 15 landowners have registered to attend. The fire information night was successful in attracting 45 participants. I attended that one over here in this upper room on Saturday afternoon. There were some good results there, as always. It would be good to see more people there, but understand on the conditions, most people were out fighting fires over the past, certainly the past week. Council was represented at the Bunya Mountains Dingo and Wild Dog Management Plan stakeholder meeting at the Bunya People's Aboriginal Corporation Hall in Moberlin, and the meeting discussed the newly created Bunya Mountains Dog Log, initiated and hosted by Western Downs Regional Council, and the threat abatement plan for predation by feral cats, Plan 2023, and there's a draft threat abatement plan for feral cats announced by the federal government with comments due on the 11th of December 2023. There are several actions, objectives Council is required to meet, which may affect the NRM and compliance teams, and a copy of the document is attached to this report. And in weed management, Pest management officers' numbers, equipment utilised in October, there were 20 flyers, 3 property inspections, a spray trailer, splatter gun, 4 gas bottles and 2 tree spears. The main focus on weeds being treated were tree pear, broadleaf privet and green cestrum, and certainly under the conditions in weeds with no rain, we're getting the hardier varieties and certainly the desert dwellers that are probably more relevant just at the moment. In feral animal management, stock root and pest officers, numbers 5 sheep and goats were impounded in the Wattle Camp area and were sold, and 1 bull impounded in the Braguda area. Livestock call-outs, 1 cow, Gordon Brook area, 12 goats, Pimpinbungie area, 20 cattle in the Ango Town area and 6 cattle in the Clorna area, and a bull in the Windra and a cow in the Tarong area. Can I add, Madam Chair, through you, I get phone calls regularly. Under the current conditions of drought, there's a lot of cattle crawling onto roadsides because that's where the majority of grass is. It's a work in progress, and I urge people to be diligent and careful on their roadways. Property owners are doing their best, but once they start crawling out on the roadways, it's hard to contain them. A lot of people are shifting stock because they have to. A lot of people are feeding stock. Trapping, set of 2 traps in Eastern Ango, 1 cat trap in the Ango area. 100 kilograms of grain was injected with 1080 for feral pigs in the Chelmsford area. 10 kilos of meat injected with 1080 for feral pigs in the South Nanango and Wilkesdale areas, and 22 kilos of carrots were injected with a K5 virus for rabbits. In compliance, the abandoned vehicle process and standard operating procedure remains a work in progress with a draft to be submitted for approval and implementation in 2024. This process has involved the Queensland Police Service and Transport and Main Roads, and the newly recruited compliance officer is confirmed to commence Monday, 6th of November 2023, and we're based in Mergen, and this will return the team to its full capacity. Just on abandoned vehicles, I had a phone call this morning. There is a caravan being left in a precarious position out on the Geelong Highway on the Western Downs side. People's commentaries around that is, apart from they get vandalised, people seem to like to drop a match in them, which under the current circumstances would be catastrophic. In environmental health, food licence renewals are nearing completion with only 10 outstanding and out of a total of 223. That's a great result. Licensed food businesses have until the 30th of October, of course that's just gone, to make application to renew their licences and make payment or risk their licence being suspended or cancelled, and there are also restoration penalty fees for being applied to businesses that did not pay by the 30th of September. A food newsletter is also being sent out to all businesses regarding the new food safety standard changes coming into effect on the 8th of December. This is part of the federal government's approach to reduce food-borne illnesses in Australia. And Australian studies estimate that at around 4.1 million cases of food-borne disease occur each year in Australia, costing $1.2 billion annually, with the new requirements coming into place to reduce cases nationally and costs incurred due to illnesses. In September, the weekend event inspections have highlighted concerns with external food vendors visiting the South Burnett, and there have been several non-compliance items which are now being followed up through their respective local governments. This is an item that needs to be attended to ensure that our events are a success, with food safety being paramount. Queensland Health update for the Darling Downs region. It's a team has been visiting local government areas regarding compliance checks for tobacco-related products. Resourcing in the local government sector for environmental health, waste and compliance role is low, and councils are struggling to attract people to the region. Mosquito-borne disease update. There's been no detection of mosquito-borne diseases such as Ross River virus, Barmah forest virus and dengue fever, except with September period for South Burnett, and I'd suggest it'd want to be a brave mosquito to live in the conditions we're facing at the moment. In a drought, they'd be fairly resilient if that was the case. Just on that, Madam Chair, a big shout out to all the fireys over the past week. There's been some horrific stories out there. I myself has attended many out in the Geelong and the north part of the Burnett. There was many rural fire brigades and services come from outside our region down the Sunshine Coast. A heap on Saturday turned up at Geelong, which was greatly appreciated by the locals out there, and the work that our local guys did as well. There's not enough personnel on the ground and gear, let alone water, to fight these things at the moment, and I encourage people, really encourage people to be diligent. We've got a complete fire ban in the South Burnett. That comes down to just even hot works permits, like grinders and things like that. There's some people still a little bit blasé out there. the last thing we want is any more fires in our region. So congratulations and thanks to all those volunteers and firefighters. And with that, Madam Chair, I'd like my portfolio report for Resource Management, Rural Services, Agricultural Innovation, Compliance and Environmental Health be moved. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. Someone to second that? Acting Mayor Jones. So yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying about the fires. And I have a question just on that, the abandoned vehicle process and standard operating procedure remains a work in progress. I know I was involved with the gentleman who was trying to, he has been working with council. Is that still not sorted?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so that's obviously the whole process around having a look at that procedure and then going through that procurement process to get quotes in relation to the removal of vehicles. But certainly our officers are in contact with our current contractor and very much aware of where we're at. So
that's good. I just wanted to make sure we were keeping him informed because I know he was getting frustrated. So thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Fascinating reading over the wrecked abatement plan for predation by feral cats 2023, provided in the attachments 2, Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. And reading, I've lost my notes, some of the commentary around the significance of managing feral cat populations with regards to maintaining our biodiversity. Actually, just this week at the Seniors Week luncheon on morning tea, I had met a gentleman who has actually trapped over 300 cats in his backyard here in Kingaroy, which is unbelievable. My question in relation to this, there's a lot of data in there, and I guess the core thing that I'm interested in, which I know has been long-standing conversation in this chamber, it's responsible pet ownership and, what our role as a local government is. My question, Manager Darrell, is just in relation to, I see this paper's open draft for consultation. There's some significant objectives in there, and clearly our council would have a role in some of these things in terms of trying to achieve or be part of that longer term goal to protect our biodiversity and manage feral cat populations. I just wondered if you might be able to provide a bit of an update in terms of, what are we submitting a submission to this? We've been involved in some of the conversations. Just any feedback in relation to the attachment and significance of the work that we're doing in that responsible pet ownership space. Just really appreciate an update.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, so certainly it's our intention to provide a submission back to the feds in relation to the plan, and obviously we've got until the 11th of December to do that. So, and I think it's really good, and I know we've had conversations around this chamber that it's just not a South Burnett issue, it's not a Queensland issue, it's a national issue. So I think that the feds should be commended for this process, this step, because if we can get a more national approach towards feral cats for starters, well then that's a good thing, to get consistencies on how different regions and different areas are managing the feral cat issue. So I haven't certainly gone through it in great detail at this point in time, but no, it certainly is our intention to support some of the recommendations that are in there and provide any other commentary that we see fit that's best for the South Burnett.
Thank you, GM Darrell.
Fantastic. If possible, I'd really be interested in what the team's submission or thoughts are in relation to this, if it can be shared. Just think it really helps us to understand the intricacies of the issue and some of the day-to-day concerns that we have, and certainly agree. I think a national approach would be fantastic. So thank you for bringing it to the table.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Did you want to did you put that as a report back to the next standing committee, or do you want it as a question on notice, or General Manager Darrell be guided by you?
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm happy once we've done a response, just to circulate it to the councillors.
Just circulate. You're happy with that, Councillor Shoemaker? So, okay, so Councillor Erkins?
Just a little bit on the guy who's trapping cats. That might be why there's so many people put up on Facebook that they can't find their cat. Kingaroy. I hope he makes sure that the ones he's taken are feral cats and not someone's owner that the cat's just got out. Because I know it sounds a funny subject, but I can tell you as a real estate agent that we had one of our tenants' cat had got out and his neighbour had trapped it, and I don't know what he did with it, but he didn't get it back. But that, the cat had been neutered and, it was not an issue, and he was pretty upset and was very vocal on his, because we actually rented both houses, and he was very vocal about our position in that. But, just so long as that they are feral cats, he's trapping and not someone's pet.
Good point, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Shoemaker?
Just to confirm, I did speak to him in relation to that because it's quite an astronomical amount of cats. He does work very closely with the RSPCA in that regard.
So thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. So now this portfolio report has been moved by Councillor Henson, seconded by Councillor Jones. Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So now we move on to item, it's on page 185, Natural Resource Management Compliance and Environmental Health Operational Update. So, General Manager Darrell, did you want to speak to that update?
Madam Chair, it's just our routine monthly update just on the stats in relation to this area, so happy to take any questions.
So does anyone have any questions to GM Darrell? Councillor Shoemaker?
I just want to pay an enormous compliment to the illegal dumping officer and the team involved in that. Had an incident here in Kingaroy where there was a lounge chair and a number of items left in one of our nature reserves, and I know the neighbours were very impressive. Those people have since come back and brought more items back into the nature reserve, and the neighbours up there are very grateful and wanted to pass on their sincere thanks for the professionalism of our team members who, were friendly and had a lovely chat with the neighbours and have helped them out enormously. They were really worried about the fire risk in that area, and I think, those officers are often the people that we don't see. They're out on the front line doing the day-to-day work, and it's a hard job. We get those photographs all the time of illegal dumping instances. Very difficult job, and I just think they should be celebrated. They're doing an enormous amount of good in our community, and I would really appreciate, Manager Darrell, if you can pass on a heartfelt thank you from those residents who were just so impressed by how quickly Council responded and the professionalism in which Council has responded to their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. You'll pass that on, General Manager Darrell. So now we'll move to the officer's recommendation. That the Natural Resource Management Compliance and Environmental Health Operational Update be received for information. Does someone move that? Councillor Henson, someone to second that. Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we'll move on to Disaster Management Portfolio Report. I'll hand over to Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So with regards to the local management group update, we've had the annual Garden Users Group Conference hosted by the QAT Plus. That's been held in Emerald, and they were accommodated by the Central Highlands Regional Council. Disaster management professionals from around 55 LGAs were in attendance at the conference. We were lucky enough to have Bryce and Donna both attend that, and which is great because of the knowledge they learn and bring back to us here. The conference provides the new insights, useful insights, and a whole range of disaster management responsibilities. including flood monitoring initiatives, system updates and improvements, presentation from individual LGAs around development, disaster management systems and the processes relating to recovery. Because it's nice to learn from what other councils have done and what's worked for them and what hasn't. The Queensland Emergency Risk Management Framework, newly built disaster coordination centres and many more. And on the final morning of the conference, the group participated in an outdoor excursion with a field demonstration on the water siren. They visited Fairbarn Dam and a tour of the local disaster coordination centre in Emerald. So I'd like to do an add-on here because since lots happened in this space since this is done. So I would like to thank Donna, James and Aaron who worked closely with QFES with regards to the local fires. We had staff out there, we had a water truck at Durong, we had a grader at Durong and we had other staff out there before SES arrived to do some of the road management there. So I really want to thank them for organising all of that. I actually do want to thank Councillor Henshin because I did get a few phone calls and it was mentioned to me when I went into the control centre that Councillor Henshin had been out there a couple of times, and I know he spoke to Georgie out there as well the other night. So, and it was really good that he went out there and was able to have a chat to the fireys and keep their spirits up because the amount of work they were doing out there and the amount of the heat and also the amount of heat they were getting, not just from the fires, but from some of the farmers because they were upset because they lost the fences and stuff like that. So, look, I just want to thank you and I want to thank all the fireys in QFES for doing such an amazing job. Just a little update from there that DAF is actually doing a bit of a fodder drop already because there's properties out there with cattle with literally no feed. So, and that's based on the burn scar mapping or the fire mapping that they're doing. So, and if anyone thinks that they deserve to have a fodder drop, they need to do the individual disaster report, or they've got to fill out a
independent drought declaration.
yeah, no, they've got to fill out a request through to DAF. So, so just go and they've got to contact Steph Denman at DAF and go from there. So, and I have also recently sent an email because we do have a few kilometres of fencing here within the South Burnett, and it has been brought to my attention that if we could get Blaze Aid here and locate them at Dooma Homestead, that they could work within the both shires, north and south, which was commented to me. We had a bit of a discussion with Mel from with Melinda from the North Burnett Regional Council last night. So, and she's also chair of the North Burnett LDMG. So it was really good to have that conversation. And I've sent an email through to add LDMG to try and, or through to Aaron, James and Donna to see whether that's a possibility or feasible for us to work together with the North Burnett. Anyway, look, I'd like to move that my report be moved. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Someone to second the report, Acting Mayor Jones. Yeah, just on that, the Blaze Aid trailers are all in Mergen, so that it wouldn't be hard to activate them because the trailers are stored there. It's a hub now for Blaze Aid. Also, just wanted to talk about the independent drought declarations because there's been talk that our whole of Shire should be drought declared. And so I know that Steph Denman is working on that. We've got to put forward a case. But it isn't as hard as people think to get that independent drought declaration because I've had a look at the forms and a lot of people are saying it's the perception is that it's difficult, that they've got to do all financial reports and stuff, but it's not. It's actually quite straightforward to try and get those independent drought declarations because then you can get certain benefits. So I just wanted to encourage people to look into doing that before we try and activate the whole region, which I know is a work in progress, but you can still get those independent ones. So yeah, thank you, Councillor Potter, and we've had that moved and seconded. So any other questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Just further to what you were saying, Councillor Duff, is there a way, if it is a barrier, and I think sometimes people are so overwhelmed by the paperwork that they have to complete, the various regulations coupled with the weather, it's not great. Is there a way, you sit on the Bayeto board for council, like, is there some or with DAF, is there some level of support or something that people could actually access to help them complete those forms?
100%. So there's the Rural Financial Council. There's quite a few service providers. We're just trying to get the message out where we can. They're ready and willing to help wherever they can. So yes, 100%. We just need to get that word out more, which I'll talk to Baido about making that happen. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Councillor
Potter.
Madam Chair, as a follow-on from that, I was actually informed that the rural financial councils are not allowed to actually help them with that drought declaration paperwork, and I do believe Baido is actually looking at grants to try and help, so they can actually put someone to help that, because one of the Baido staff members started working with a particular property and they still hadn't finished the paperwork 2.5 hours later. So, and that was with someone working with them. So it's not an easy job, and I think that's why Baido is looking at trying to work in that space and help them. So it's a big job. But that other paperwork I was talking about is something different. It was an individual's disaster. And I've got the other two words written down, but I wrote them down in such a hurry I actually can't read my writing. So
Councillor Potter, yes. So thank you. But so that there's two different things. There's a resilience plan. That's the one where the financial counsellor can't help them fill it out. But the independent drought declaration is just.
Sorry, Councillor Duff.
Yes,
you're right.
Yeah. So that's a big ticket item, and all that they can do with the financial counsellor can just help them get the plan for them, help them just the broad outline of how it is, but it has to be their plan. Whereas the independent drought declarations are just they're only a two-page document that is Anne Boyle, our financial counsellor, would be quite keen to help get that happening. So yes, thank you. Have you had your questions answered, Councillor Shoemaker? You're happy? All right, so we've got Councillor Potter has moved and Councillor Jones has seconded that the local disaster management portfolio report be received for information. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to waste and recycling management. And the officer's recommendation is that the waste management portfolio report to council be received for information. So I'll hand over to Councillor Potter.
Thank you very much. Look, I just want to bring up a couple of things here. Is the waste levy payments. I mean, you can all see that the waste levy payments, that council's remitted over 392,000 back to the state at the end of September, and this equates to just over 50,000. Equates to 50,000 over the monthly average after the 3 months. So the correspondence, along with a follow-up email, has been sent to the Executive Director, Office of Circular Economy, to outline the financial shortfalls that Council is experiencing in the domestic waste prepayment area, but no response has been received this time. So they are working in that space, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And also the evaluation panel have met to discuss the respective scoring and anticipated report will be brought to the October ordinary meeting for Council's consideration with regards to those. So thank you very much. And soil testing is being completed for the Nango and Wando ones, and anticipated that a tender will be released for market. But the requirement for that tender is that is actually completed by the 30th of June 2024 to be compliant with the funding agreements. So, and also an exciting thing is that Envirocom are conducting free waste education programs to the schools between Monday the 20th and Friday the 24th of November. So there's many different educational programs that run during this time, but during this time they'll also be conducting bin inspections, which will be fun for them, and presenting a recycling survey to the community. So what they do is just go to a random person's bin, they will have a look in it, I believe that's the way it works, and then that person actually gets scored, I believe. Is that correct, Daryl, as to what happens in that space? But I'll just finish my report. And also we've got the waste strategy that they're still working on, the 24-29, to be adopted by Council on the 25th of October. Community consultation is about to commence, so that will include media releases, social media posts, and correspondence is key and call flutes are being erected as well. So please share this on your Facebook pages so we can get that feedback in. Just a couple of attachments and photographs of this. We've got the illegal dumping at the Hydesville transfer station and also at Geelong transfer station. So, look, this is something that does cost us a lot of money. And I mean, you look at these photos and it's not good, guys, but it's something that we deal with every single day in council and our compliance officers. And I thank Darryl and his team for working through that and everything that he can do in that space. So thank you. I'd like to move that my report be received.
Thank you. Someone to second Councillor Potter's report. Councillor Erkins. So any questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Councillor Duff. Certainly understand that waste strategy 2024-29 is an enormous document. And I think it's actually really important in terms of the conversations that we're having around transfer stations, future landfills, cost of recycling, the lack of, you know, the levy actually being able to fully pay for what we're landfilling. I actually feel it's really important. Some of the conversations I've had since reading over that draft strategy with local residents, just saying, are you aware, do you realise? It's clear to me there's a lot of information in our community about our waste management practices that is not, you know, we might assume is known, but is actually not known. And I think this consultation period actually offers a real opportunity for us as a council to answer some of those or myth bust some of those things that perhaps our community is not entirely aware of as shareholders of the region, certainly with the rates that they pay and these increasing costs, I think, and the decisions ahead of us, I think they absolutely, they need to understand or have a better understanding of just some of the challenges council faces in this space and some of the initiatives and things that we're actually keen to work with over that, you know, period of 24 to 2029. I think the survey and those sorts of things are a wonderful opportunity for people to provide feedback, but my concern is that I think there's actually a lot of information that's not necessarily known or understood. So the quality of that feedback could be, you know, at times questionable. And when I think about the other surveys that we've sent out, it's amazing how many times you get back that, you know, we need to focus on fixing the roads and things, issues that do not actually relate at all to the thing that we've asked for feedback on. I would actually really like to see, and I know it's a challenge because of resourcing, but some sort of pop-up community consultation, whether it's in our libraries or in our towns, and not a lot of them. Like, I understand it's a challenge to capture people, the right people at the right time, but I think this conversation is evolving in our community, and knowing what I know about the challenges that lie ahead in this space, I think there's a real communication piece here to try to share more about the significance of that strategy. So it's just some feedback, Manager Darryl. I understand, you know, your team is strapped with all of the things that are happening, but I know through the Memorial Park planning, the transformation project, the Wondo project, you know, we always try to get out on the footpath and try to share. I'm wondering if there might be an opportunity. I'm very happy to support. I'm sure my fellow colleagues are, to, you know, stand with the team, always do, at these various things, and have some of these deeper conversations about waste and recycling and the future of such in the south of Burnett.
So just a suggestion. I'm just wondering. I'm sorry. What about if we had them at the actual transfer station, so you're actually on site, so that it was more relevant, because then people who are using those transfer stations, and rather than just having it in the street or a town hall, actually out on site, just as a suggestion.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about trying to capture the most amount of people.
Yep.
And I know often in the street community, you know, it's busy in the morning, but I don't disagree. And I think the ad hoc hours of those transfer stations make it hard.
but just, I guess, seeking some advice from you. In terms of resources, operations, I understand it's a challenge, but there is some really hard-hitting facts in that strategy that I think our community as shareholders and ratepayers need to be aware of.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, certainly, I think the thing to remember is the draft strategy is a strategic document. We're not getting into the tin tacks of what we're going to close or what we're going to upgrade or what we may do in that space. So, so we just got to think through what the timing may be of actually more of that specific consultation or communication with our communities. But yeah, I mean, we can certainly have a look at what the best way of getting bang for our buck and getting out there. Just on the resourcing side of things, like we currently have the coordinator position vacant. We're going to have the manager position vacant from Friday. So finding who's going to do it is probably the challenge. But, if that's something that you want us to do, we can certainly see what the best way is of delivering something like that, given the 28 days or whatever it is that draft plan is out for consultation.
Yeah, happy to discuss it further. I just think there's some information in that strategy that our community is unaware of, in terms of that bigger picture strategic challenge of managing waste in our region. So, yeah, I don't want to create more work when you're limited resourcing, but I'm just concerned that we won't actually get valuable feedback back unless people actually understand the context of the significance of that strategy. So something perhaps for further conversation, but it's certainly at the Red Earth Community Regional Forum yesterday, the focus was on circular economy. And in my opinion, we had some wonderful discussions about some of the innovative things that are happening across our region, the innovative solutions that business and industry is thinking up to be smarter with the items that they use and consume and recycle and upcycle, and finding, converting waste into treasure in many ways. And I think this conversation for us, when you look at all the Queensland Government's development opportunities, they really are in this circular economy space, and that bigger picture conversation about waste and what stocks we actually have is really important. So just don't want to lose that in creating a strategy that sits on a shelf and nobody's actually aware of the information in it. Thank you.
So, are you happy, General Manager Darrell? Did you want to make some more comments around that, or we're all?
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously take that on board and just see what we can do given the time and the resources that we've got. Yeah.
Thank you. So, we've any other questions? So, we've had Councillor Potter moved and Councillor Erkin seconded that the Waste Management Portfolio Report to Council be received for information. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the...
Madam Chair.
Councillor Henson.
Yeah, could I spare the chamber a minute and move a motion from the floor, and happy for some guidance, Mr CEO, just in relation to our fires and whatnot. Mount Isa Mine and the Mayor, Daniel Slade up there, has implemented and asked the heavy industry up there to assist in the fires. Now, I would like to move a motion that this council approaches our heavy industry and our neighbouring industries, and be it the renewable sector, that in the event of fire outbreaks that they can assist in some shape or form.
So if you
whether
could
that's
just...
to lobby for the state government and any relevant parties.
So sorry, Councillor Henson, could you just read this out really slowly so we can get it down? Sorry.
Yep, all right. The motion is that this South Bennett Regional Council advocate and lobby, be it the state government and our heavy industry.
Wait, yep. Advocate.
And renewable energy sectors.
So advocate and lobby, was it?
Advocate and lobby.
And lobby.
Yep, in the event of fire outbreaks in the South Burnett.
live,
further outbreaks.
live in further outbreaks.
South Burnett approach state governments, heavy industry, and the renewables energy sectors in assistance with the control of fire outbreaks, bushfire outbreaks. And just some history on that, Madam Chair, through you.
Sorry, Councillor Hinton, if you want to move that, and we'll seek a seconder, and then I'll ask you to speak to the motion. Someone just.
I'll just read that. That the Council advocate and lobby in the event of further outbreaks in the South Burnett, approach state governments, heavy industry and the renewable energy sectors in assistance with the control of bushfire outbreaks. I think I'm going to elaborate further, but that's a pretty brief overview of what I'm going to proceed and speak on this motion, Madam Chair.
So someone could second that? Councillor Erkins. So Councillor Henson, you'd like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just in conversation throughout the entire state, there's 60 fires throughout the state at present. And Mayor Slade in Mount Isa asked for assistance from heavy industry, and Mount Isa is a seriously heavy industry town, as I'm sure you're all aware of that. Many of those industries up there down tools and put their equipment and resources to help in the fires around Mount Isa. Now, I'm not sure whether you've kept up the speed with that. There's too many fires in the state. Mount Isa is in a pretty desperate situation at the moment. Pardon me. And of course, a lot of the country around Mount Isa is quite inaccessible. There's a bit of stuff happening up there, but credit to the Mayor Slade in Mount Isa, a lot of those industries have come on board to assist. I think we need to approach our heavy industry and our renewable energy sector, and especially in our neighbouring councils with the renewable work that's going on. And you've heard me say, I made a comment yesterday that it would be good if our renewable sector and some of our polys just ceased the operation in some of those facilities and put some of their resources towards helping save the state and save our regions and our local council areas. When I go across there and see 300,000 litres and 500,000 litres of water being sprayed on roadways to suppress dust, and we got all our rural fireys flat out, they're on relief at the moment. They've been overworked, and the time they've put in, we're limited with gear and we're limited with water, and we have these industries just pulling stuff out on the ground when they could be put to better use. So I'd seek the support of the chambers here to further this and see whether we can get some support in these industries, heavy industries and renewable sectors, because I think that would be a small contribution they could help, rather than wasting some of the resources they have just in the present condition that the state's in a crippling drought and the water shortages we have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. So do we have any other speakers to the motion or questions to Councillor Henson? So, Councillor Shoemaker?
Yeah, absolutely agree. My only question was, isn't there a broader disaster group? Like, I'm just thinking about how we might be able to enact this, that Toronto Power Station and others sit on. I can't think of the name of the group, but isn't there actually a group already established with some major industry on it in relation to disaster that we might be able to actually call on rather quickly, because there's been some conversations in that space? I don't disagree, Councillor Henson, by all means. I'm just thinking out loud. So.
Councillor Henson, did you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. And the purpose of this motion, I think they need to be drawn to attention that we need their assistance. And there might be many things in place across the state and across our region, and be it whether it's Toronto or Stanwell, whoever. And as you know, we have a renewable facility going up on our Western Downs boundary, only a matter of kilometres, and we have a great dividing range that is not very accessible. We have predicted storms, dry storms, and that's what's happening with the majority of these fires that are outbreaking. Only last Thursday, my neighbour had a fire outbreak. The one on the weekend out at Geelong and Bobby Black's place started with a dry lightning strike. Absolutely no sign of a rain or a storm or anything. And that's what's happening. And my fear is this is going to continue until we get some much needed relief in rain, which isn't on the horizon. They can continually say storms and predicted 30 or 70 mil. That's not happening. And I can tell you now, there will be more fires start, and we've got some down in Councillor Jones, Acting Mayor Jones's area, in the Ellesmere area and Maidenville, Kuya areas. And as I said, 60 across the state. There's been an absolute tragedy in the North Burnett up above Manar Park. There's enough been happening in our own local area, but I think these companies need to be questioned and asked for assistance, because they have the gear, they have access to staff, they have access to some serious equipment, and when they're pumping hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of litres out, perhaps they could just cease operations for a couple of days and help the community.
Thank you. Yes, General Manager Meehan.
Through you, Madam Chair. So, fully supported, and the councillor is right as well. The LDMG have those conversations as well. What we would do with this is facilitate this through the LDMG to work with those groups to bring those resources probably a bit more to attention and capability. So, happy to give it a shot in the arm through that.
Thank you, General Manager Meehan. So we've had moved and seconded. Did you want to write a reply? I think you got the support of the chamber.
No, thank you, Madam Chair and CEO and fellow councillors and staff. I think we're back into some pretty dire situations. There's no relief on the horizon, that's for sure. So whatever we can encourage anybody to help with, be it in any of those industries, would be greatly appreciated by the people out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henson. 100% agree. So all those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the Portfolio, Rural Resilience, Disaster Recovery, Parks and Gardens, Property and Facility Management, First Nations Affairs. Sorry, we are on 11.2. So Waste and Recycling Management Portfolio Report. Yep. Sorry, operational, 11.2, operational operate date. Yes, sorry. All right, so does General Manager Darrell want to talk to the update?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, this is just part of our monthly update just on the various stats in the waste and recycling area. So we've got our recycling stats there, and also amount of waste to landfill and how we're stacking up against the levy. So happy to take any questions.
Okay. So someone want to move that operational update? So that's Councillor Potter. Someone to second that, Councillor Erkins. Any questions to General Manager Darrell? Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I'm just wondering a couple of things. First up, look, are we able to work with the South Net Sustainable Future Network to do information sessions throughout our community so we can decrease the contamination levels of our recycling? I do believe there are a lot of residents who want to do the right thing, but we're just not sure, what the right way is. So I'm just wondering so that's one question. And the second question is, are we able to do a video up and put both in the cinemas and on multimedia sites and even out through the schools regarding how to recycle properly? And I'm just wondering if we can do that with no money. Just curious.
So, General Manager Darrell, would you like to answer those two questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, if you see my acting skills, you probably wouldn't want to pay in any money anyway. But look, I mean, that's something, we can have a look at. I know that as part of our contract with Envirocom, who do our waste education, we do an annual plan. We map out, when the school programs and all the other paraphernalia that we get as part of the waste education program. So, I mean, we can throw it into the mix, see what we can do. I know other councils have done something similar.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair. Maybe we could just have a look at, if there's already videos out there, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, and maybe we could use, because I know the state government every now and then puts on those recycling ads. So, but maybe if it's possible, we could look at those and see what other councils have done, and maybe ask if we can, have a loan of theirs or something like that, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel if it's already been done.
through you, Madam Chair. And certainly we can do that. I know of 3 councils straight off the top of my head that have done something similar. But, we can certainly take it on board. As far as resourcing as to what residents, can and can't recycle, we've developed a whole suite of them when we rolled out the recycling program at the end of the year, and those resources are still available and either through our website or just getting in contact with us and we can send information out. So, but yeah, there's always more that we can do in this space to reduce that contamination rate in our recycling bins, and also getting more of the recycling out of the general waste bins and into that recycling bin as well. So yeah, it's an area that we can certainly do a lot more work in.
Thank you. Any other questions to General Manager Darrell? So if not, we'll move the officer's recommendation that the Waste and Recycling Management Operational Update be received for information. It's been moved by Councillor Potter and seconded by Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now I'll move on to my portfolio for Rural Resilience, Disaster Recovery, Parks and Gardens, Property and Facility Management, First Nations Affairs. So the first section is Parks and Facility Management. South Bennett Regional Council's Growing Workforce Participation Fund project target employment opportunities for First Nations young people across the communities of Mergen and Wandai. Council's identified a skill shortage. Council will be partnering with Wandai and Mergen pool managers to provide on-site training and employment opportunities. And the employment opportunities will be advertised shortly through Council Sherburgh Aboriginal Council's Swimmingpool website. Stage 2 of QE Park is going ahead. Work is progressing at Lions Park, Kingaroa, with the construction of new amenities and playground facility. Works are being completed at Allen Sterling Park, Bunya Mountains. Works are progressing at Banark First Settlers Park, Stage 2. Resealing of Wandai Dingo Park and Kingaroa Apex Park has been completed. Work has commenced on the Wandai Art Gallery and Wandai Coronation Park, drainage and car park. Upcoming community consultation activities have been coordinated for November 2nd in Tingura to discuss the future options for the hall. That's on the 14th of November. And then there's also discussion on the lease or transfer of part of McMahon Park to the Mergen Independent Lifestyle Project. And then we've got the South Bennett Regional Council and Optimum Planning Group, winners of the National Awards of Excellence for Strategic and Master Planning at the 2023 Joint International Congress hosted by World Urban Parks and Leisure Australia. So there's Leanne. We've congratulated her this morning. We've had some photos, but that was a big achievement, so well done. Then we've got my section, disaster recovery. The delivery of disaster recovery events has continued over the last month with youth mental first aid training provided in Nanango. Mental health first aid events continue to be well received and attended by the community. And Baido have delivered another primary producer workshop on syntropic farming on the 21st of October in Inverlour. And disaster recovery is continuing to progress a number of upcoming events through a busy period over the next 2 months, with numerous events being delivered in various areas of the region. So I'd like to move that my portfolio report be received for information. Someone to second that? Councillor Potter, any questions? If not, we'll go straight to the vote. Oh, Councillor Shoemaker.
Just going to say, really do appreciate the work that's happening in the parks space. You've got so much on, and driving through Mergen yesterday and seeing the QE2 park works underway, that's really going to finish off that park. I walk past the Lions Park every day, checking out what they're up to, and to see the playground equipment sort of going in and the new bathrooms starting. It's really exciting to see those projects that I think we've been talking about since the beginning of this term of council, some of that really ageing and dated infrastructure actually starting to be replaced. And I think it's just put a really positive boost into our region, particularly at the moment when things are so dry. People are looking at those open spaces and places where they can take their families or enjoy some time away in somebody else's backyard for a little while. So those green spaces cannot be underestimated. And I just think the work that's happening is exceptional. I also, looking at the Dingo Park area and the Banarkin Park, I've been around all of them lately. There's so much happening, so thank you. I think there's a lot to have your finger on the pulse, Leanne, and your team's doing exceptionally well. I got some amazing feedback from the Dove family in relation to Karoo Park and the incredible work that Dallas and the team have been doing there. Thank you. Just really excited to see some of these projects actually completed. I just wanted to say thank you, and enormously proud that you were acknowledged on a national stage for Kingaroy Memorial Park Master Plan for the South Burnett Regional Council to win a national award. You know, that is normally something that, you know, those bigger councils who have got hundreds of thousands of dollars, so I learned, they pour into master planning each year. That's not new for them, but for us, it really was leading in terms of where we want to be and into the future in terms of planning that infrastructure, and to be acknowledged in that way after those many hours of conversations on the street and meeting with as many community groups and things that we possibly could, all of the local schools, all of that feedback. It just goes to show how comprehensive that project really was, and how exceptional, I think, setting that vision and being able to now go after those dollars to keep chipping away at that big picture vision really is. So I'm really excited about that, and really huge kudos to you, Leanne, and the team. I know firsthand from the many consultations that I attended with you how much of your hearts and souls went into that project, and really do appreciate it. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Any comments, Manager Leanne? No? All good. So is there any other comments or questions? No, if not, we'll go to the vote. The officer's recommendation is my report be received for information. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So now we're moving on to Cumbia Recreation Reserve Preliminary Master Plan. The officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that the draft Cumbia Recreation Reserve Preliminary Master Plan be adopted, and 2, to undertake community consultation to seek views on the priority projects to be included in the stage 1 of park redevelopment. So do we want to go, do you want to comment on that, Manager Leanne?
Yes, I do. I just think it's important for this project just to highlight the community consultation process that has been undertaken as well out at Cumbia. We have been able to visit the school in Cumbia, and also we've been out to a number of activities in Cumbia where we've been able to reach out to the children, both primary aged children and high school children, and get some feedback from them about what parks and how they use parks and what they would like in the future. We did have a public meeting, and up to 40 people attended that meeting and provided really good feedback and input into not only Apex Park but also the sports ground in Cumbia as well. So really good consultation, great feedback from the community. We've also spent some time out there walking around the parks, talking to visitors, and also just capturing and looking at what activities the children are engaging in. And yes, there is very limited playground equipment in Cumbia, and it's very worthwhile to see this project pull it together in a master plan and give some direction on how and where we should be sort of facilitating the activities in Cumbia to cater for all the different needs. And in the report it captures that. It talks about the caravan usage and visitors to Cumbia coming in and utilising that Apex Park area, and how that is not actually well managed in that space, because we've got the caravanners and traffic and reversing vehicles in and around playground equipment, and the families really needing to move away from Apex Park and move down to the sports ground. So that came through all of the community consultation and feedback, and it's captured there in the report, and the prioritisation of what some of that playground equipment might look like. So by adopting the draft report, what it would allow us to do is to go back out, and we intend to go back out and talk to the students and children and the community about some of the priority playground equipment that came out of this master plan, and have their input into just reviewing those priorities to then give us direction in the way forward to spend the remainder of the Works for Queensland funds and the Capital Works program for council. So that's probably just a short summary of what the report entails.
Thank you, Manager Leanne. So are there any questions? So would someone like to move? Oh, sorry, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Shoemaker has moved. Someone second. Councillor Acting Mayor Jones has seconded that. So then, Councillor Shoemaker.
I just have a question. This is an exceptional piece of work. I think it's really exciting to see a bit of a vision there, and I was very disappointed I couldn't make the community meeting. I did actually have to take my father-in-law for some surgery that day. I am, though, wondering, from the conversation we had before about the Wondai CBD and the budget reallocation, we talked about there being some Works for Queensland funding that would potentially be reprioritised. Did we do that or did we not?
No, Councillor, we didn't. We reprioritised Kevin's existing capital allocation in his renewal program. The W4Q remains.
So you're going to use all W4Q and the reallocated funds and the LRCI funds. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I thought there may be an opportunity there to get a few more dollars for the Cumbia project, and unfortunately not. I am just really impressed by the vision, the ideas. I love that scooter park idea where it's scooter, skateboard and all activities outside, and really taking advantage of that large parcel of work, and look forward to the continued, that large parcel of land, and really listening to what the community needs out there and focusing on how we might be able to achieve that with different funding opportunities. Now that we have a master plan is really exciting. So really looking forward to the community consultation and the feedback that comes back in relation to this project. But I really do appreciate the effort, and I think it's first class, and it demonstrates just how far we've come in this term of council when we start talking about these projects and developing that scope. So thank you to Verda and the team, and yourself, Leanne. Really excited about what's next for Cumbia now that we have sort of some vision and some feedback from them.
So thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Are there any other questions, comments? If not, are we ready to go to the vote? I'll just read out that the committee recommends to council that the draft Cumbia Recreation Reserve preliminary master plan be adopted, and 2, to undertake community consultation to seek views on the priority projects to be included in the stage 1 of park development. That's been moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we move on to item 13 on page 227, Facilities and Parks Operational Update. So did you want to speak to that, General Manager or Manager Leanne?
No, I'll just take comments or questions. It's a very detailed report on an update on the Capital Works, plus all of our operations in parks, and also a detailed update there on the land review. So if there's no, I'm just happy to take questions today.
So any questions to Manager Leanne? Everyone happy? Would someone move that the... Sorry, Councillor Henson.
Madam Chair, just a question. Manager Leanne, and the Froston Lookout, looking sensational. That's obviously a budgeted item, like the cost of the maintenance on that. There's obviously been water connected to the park, and there's a bit happening in that space. And I'm happy to take that on notice, Madam Chair, as to that facility, which was never there, so it's another facility council's maintaining, and the costings on that.
So Manager Leanne.
Happy to take it on notice in terms of going away and doing a calculation of the ongoing operational costs. But this is a project that council requested in the Capital Works program for the lookout to be installed, including the bollards, seating, and the trees. And because we actually had to do some earthworks at the site and remove a large amount of soil to level the site, we've had to turf the site to actually get grass to be re-established there quickly. So yes, there is an ongoing maintenance cost of maintaining that turf and the trees. But once it's established, it'll be just minor maintenance. But yes, this is a new site that will require ongoing mowing and maintenance and cleaning and garbage removal. But that was a decision I would assume we made when we forecasted this and decided that it was a priority capital works project.
Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Manager Leanne. I'm just, under the conditions, I'm just a little astounded. We have a lawn area there that is absolutely immaculate, and we're in the middle of a drought through the fence. The cows will be busting through that fence to get to it, as to why that facility wasn't just gravel. That's just my concern with that area.
Did you want to comment, Manager Leanne, or?
No, I'm happy to take the question on notice around operational costs going forward to maintain the site. For us, it's stabilisation of the site and just grassing it back to stabilise that site. Fully appreciate it's extremely dry, and the level of water that we've got there at the moment would be to get it established. But going forward, I would imagine that would decline or reduce. But we are moving into a very hot summer, so like all tree plantings and gardens throughout the region, we are watering continuously to keep our vegetation and turfed areas looking presentable and ensuring our investment is maintained. So happy to work out the true operational costs of that project and bring it back.
So, Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Manager, I know down at Tipperary Flat, I know the grass has been planted, and I understand that it is so dry and there's probably, I was talking to some locals about, there's that fine line between, we don't want to see water wasted, but it's nice to be able to have somewhere for people to go that is green, and it does lift. I know the comments that we have been getting on the gardens in Nanango, because most people at home, their gardens they've had to let them go, and it is so nice to be able to come in those gardens. So I just wondered, what we were going to do about Tipperary Flat. I haven't been out there, so I don't know where the thing, but I do know after they put the seeds down, I do know that the birds in the area thought, and I know there was some grass starting to come through, but I just don't know whether they have been watering and whether they're going to keep that program up to try and get something established there, or whether we're better to just wait because it is so dry and let it, wait till things improve a little. But it's pretty, it is pretty ugly at the moment. So, but again, I'm okay if you get back to me on that as to whether we discuss what the best way to go about it is.
Manager Leanne.
The site is also under water, and we have placed lawn seed out. It is struggling. I will admit we have had some difficulties getting the grass to establish, even though we brought in new topsoil. It will have a lot to do with the temperature and the heat for that new growth. But yes, our initial plans is to get that established. It's very important on that site to have the grass established to help us actually manage any sort of erosion or silt movement through there. So being in that floodplain area and also most definitely as you're coming into town, it would be nice to have that site established. Yes, so at this stage we will continue to try to establish the grass. We are not going down the path of turfing at this stage. We were trying to establish it through grass seed. But it's just a little bit more challenging with this heat at the moment.
I think if we'd gone ahead with the turfing, I think it would be brown anyway. So this way, at least what comes through, hopefully it'll be a little more resilient because it's had to struggle to get there. Thanks, Leanne.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Just a quick question. Page 234, lots 36, 37 and 53 Morris Street, Blackbutt, listed on the Environmental Management Register, and that we've got consultants preparing site investigation report for the removal of the lots on the Environmental Management Register. I just wondered what the history was there, and actually just a bit of context about the size of those lots. Are they house lots, or can take that on notice? I just
Certainly, they are house blocks,
Yeah.
and we are, yes, I'd have to go and just double check the history,
Yeah.
whether it was fuel, oil or other contaminants.
I see.
The report that we're developing is to get an estimate on what the cost would be to then progress to have it removed from the register. So we would have to consider that cost. We're not actioning that at the moment. We would bring that back for consideration to see if it's worth our while continuing to progress once they've reviewed some of that historical information. So it's just noted there that we're working on that particular project.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
if
No.
it can be removed and it's easily removed for minimal cost, then it's something we would recommend to council. But if there's a large cost in removing it from the environmental register, it would be a project that we would recommend just holding over until we've got adequate funds to do that.
Yeah, very, very interesting, that number of lots in that area, and a good opportunity if we can do that. So that's really exciting. Thank you for the work on that.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other questions or comments? If not, will someone to move the Facilities and Parks Operation Update would be received for information. Moved by Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to the item 14 on page 237, the proposed tender for sale of 23 Jellicoe Street, Proston. So the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council approve for sale by tender 23 Jellicoe Street, Proston, lot 38 RP 57676 by 1, entering into negotiations with the highest tenderer, and if the current market value of the property is reached, enter a contract of sale for the property, or 2, if negotiations with the highest tenderer does not result in a sale of the property at current market value, list the property for sale on the open market, and 3, delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2007 to negotiate and execute contract of sale. But did someone want to move that? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded Councillor Henson. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Shoemaker?
Just like to acknowledge the work that goes in to get us to this point. I think this is a really great outcome, and I do hope, somebody may actually be able to live at 23 Jellicoe Street, Boston, pending the finalisation of the sale. I think these kind of small incremental sales really, hopefully, will help create more housing stocks in our region, and to hear, that there have been a number of potential buyers and interest in the lot is exciting. So fully supportive of the recommendation, and hope to see some new residents living at 23 Jellicoe Street sometime soon.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. So now we're moving on to item 14.2, which is on page 247, the proposed tender to adjoining owners for sale of 29 Terrace, Mergen. The officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council approve for sale by tender to adjoining owners 29 Tiernan Terrace, Mergen, lot 72 RP 855764 by 1, entering into negotiations with the highest tenderer, and if the current market value of the property is reached, enter a contract of sale for the property, and 2, delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2007 to negotiate and execute contract of sale. Someone to move that? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Potter, did you want to speak to the motion? No. Any questions? Any comments? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. So now we're moving on to item 14.3 on page 257. So that one there is the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council offer the land for sale by tender to the 3 adjoining owners by 1, entering into negotiations with the highest tenderer, and if the current market value of the property is reached, delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2007, enter a contract to sale for the property, or 2, if negotiations with the highest tenderer does not result in the sale of the property, retain the property in council ownership and tender the property for lease / permit for grazing purposes. Does someone like to move that? Moved by Councillor Henson. Someone to second that? Councillor Potter. Any speakers? Did you want to speak to the motion, Councillor Henson? No? Everyone happy? Or, Councillor Shoemaker.
Just wanted to check, is this the one where we were negotiating regarding the substation? Yes. Yep. No. Fully supportive of the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other discussion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. So now we're moving on to item 14.4. That's on page 268. And the officer's recommendation is that the committee recommend to council that council approve for sale by tender lot 18 McConnell Way, Mondure, lot 18 RP 27655 by 1, entering into negotiations with the highest tenderer, and if the current market value of the property is reached, enter a contract to sale for the property, or 2, if negotiations with the highest tenderer does not result in the sale of the property at current market value, list the property for sale on the open market, and 3, delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2007 to complete contracts of sale. If I could have someone to move that. Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Shoemaker. Any discussion? Everyone happy? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we are moving on to questions on notice. Item number 270, on page 276, item 15.1. So that one there was question on notice infrastructure. What is the QFES program and activities for this fire season? And it's please refer to the attachments for the responses, and that was a response to the questions on notice from Councillor Erkins. So, Councillor Erkins, are you happy with that response? So, would you like to move that the response to the questions on notice be received? Someone to second that? Councillor Potter. Any other discussion? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Is that it? So, thank you. That was 12:25. The meeting is closed. Thank you all for your attendance.